Welcome to episode 1 of the Next Generation podcast, a podcast where I show you how to be a high-value man and woman. There's going to be 2 different segments to this podcast. The first segment is where I sit down with high-value men and some lovely ladies and talk to them about what it means to be a high-value man or a high-value woman. The second segment is basically like a public forum. So I'll invite men and women of any income range to come and give their opinion on these different subjects that we talk about on the podcast. In this episode, episode 1, we're going to be starting with the first category, the category where I'm going to sit down with high-value men making at least $100,000 per year or more. And in this episode, I'm going to be featuring Michael Sartain.
Because of his physical attractiveness. It's almost like there's a variety of reasons why women have sex.
Sam Matheson.
I think personally that every relationship you have an emotional bucket. So it is transactional, but through an emotional lens.
And my dad, along with some lovely ladies. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, make sure to like the video if you want to see more, and subscribe to then see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy.
Hi there. This is Laura Bakken, and I'm 53. And I am retired from corporate America. I was a speechwriter, and then I had my own marketing agency for 10 years. And now my dating status is single.
Awesome. How about you, Natalia?
Hi, my name is Natalia. I'm 34 years old. I'm a union carpenter in local 157 out of Manhattan, and I also do OnlyFans. And I am single.
Beautiful. And how about you, Sylvia? You're muted, by the way. There you go.
My name is Sylvia. I'm a registered nurse, and just my name, where I'm from and stuff, Dante, I apologize. You might have to repeat what you want from me.
No worries. So your age, name, dating occupation, or excuse me, occupation and dating status.
My dating occupation. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm in a relationship. And I'm a registered nurse in Phoenix, Arizona, I guess. Is that it?
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Okay. But actually currently I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I am enrolling into school for my nursing rather than being bedside.
Beautiful.
It's a little different.
I love it. So let's go to Mike. If you want to introduce yourself, same thing, what you do, and then we'll go to Sam and then Dan.
Hi, I'm Michael Sartain. I'm what's called a cat DILF. I have 12 cats that I've rescued. I'm sorry, some girl called me that, so I thought it was funny. I have a new one I got last night, actually. I have a new kitten. I am the founder of the Men of Action mentoring program. We've got about 2,000 guys in the course. It's a male self-improvement course. I host the 3 biggest bikini competitions in the world, Paradise Challenge, Swimsuit USA, and then the Girls of Summer bikini competition for $60,000 at Wet Republic. I live here in Las Vegas. And I work as a quantitative analyst at a small fund called Continental Financial Capital. And I have a podcast that really seems to offend a lot of people called the Michael Sartain Podcast. Oh, I'm in a polygynous relationship.
Epic. Thanks for being here, Mike.
Yep.
Sam, do you want to go next? You're muted, by the way, brother.
There we go. G'day guys, I'm Sam. Nice to meet you. I'm 29 from Australia. I teach very similar things to Michael. I have a mentorship program, also teaching guys how to, be better as themselves, network better, relationships, dating. I'm single at the moment and traveling too much to really be in a relationship right now. Too many countries. Try to have a girlfriend in every country. That's the goal.
Epic. And how about you, Dan?
I'm Dan. I'm an agile coach. I'm married. Yep.
An agile coach, for everybody who isn't familiar with that, can you explain what that is really quick?
Agile is just a method to teach businesses how to be a better business.
Epic.
It essentially stops micromanagers, if that means anything to anybody, but it probably does.
I don't like micromanagers, so I like that.
No one does.
Amazing. Awesome. So the first question to kick things off, we're going to ask the ladies first. Try to keep your answers short and concise. And same rotation as we did introducing ourselves, starting with the ladies and going to the men. So what makes a man high value? Do you want to start, Laura?
Oh, what makes a man high value? Well, I think, gosh, it has changed for me over the years. So do you want my today answer?
Yeah, we'll go with your in the moment answer.
Okay. In the moment answer, I would say someone who is masculine, a strong leader, is confident, takes control of a situation, and makes decisions. Probably knows how to treat a lady. Is more traditional in the way they handle the relationship with a woman, likes to, plan things, court a woman, chases a little bit, things like that. And considering that I'm single.
Awesome.
As far as financial, they're successful. They take care of themselves.
What's a number that kind of defines successful, by the way?
For me, it's probably more like 200,000 and above.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Natalia?
Hi. So I'm just gonna piggyback off what she said. Basically, all of that. The only thing I'm gonna add to that is a provider and a protector, someone who provides and protects their woman and their family. Yeah.
Amen.
How about income-wise? What's good for you?
I don't know. I feel like if you're with a man for money, that says more about you as a woman than anything.
For sure, but like your dream guy, assuming he's awesome, he loves you, cares about you, like what would you like him to ideally make if you could pick that?
If I have to stay home and take care of the household and the children, ideally probably the same, 200,000. But my man could, like my future husband or my future partner could probably be making, working on himself and becoming the man. And maybe he just has to find his counterpart to help him become his most masculine and like step into his divine masculine. Like so he could probably be making crap right now, but if we find each other, maybe that'll happen. I just don't like putting money on it because it's just, women suck in that sense. Oh, I'm sorry. Like they're just like they see money and they're like, well, he can give me everything that I want, but they will not bring anything to the relationship. They'll be still operating in their masculine and they want everything, they want to do everything, they want their freedom, but they're just like, well, you need to make X amount, and I just don't agree with that.
Gotcha. But you're okay if he doesn't make that high income as long as he has like the ambition and drive to potentially make that income.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Sylvia, you're muted, by the way. What is your definition of a high value man?
I apologize. I'll be muted because I have a very large family. Okay. Okay. A high value man. Well, I would say good character, good integrity, and someone who is able to grow, because I feel like we're always in a constant growth. I also know that I have a very high value man that I treasure right now. And if God forbid he's not able to work and he has to stay home, then his character and his integrity is what carries through on that, because as a team, being able to grow means that, and I guess I'm speaking in a level of relationship status, being able to be with a high value man A high value man is someone who's able to grow, has good character, has integrity. And with those, he should be able to do everything else if he carries those three things.
Beautiful. And what is his income roughly?
So, honestly, I don't know. because to me, it doesn't matter, because I have a really good life with him and we have a lifestyle. And so to me, if it's not important right now to know we're not married, so I'm not in his finances in that sense, because I don't have to worry about that. So I really don't know. However, I can say that, let's say he's not able to work and he brings absolutely no income, because of his character and his ability to grow that I've already seen in our relationship, then guess what? That's where my high value womanness is going to step in, and I'm going to be going out there and pounding that pavement. Right now, I don't have to do that, but I would. So as far as income, I would like to have the lifestyle I hold. I have no idea what that costs, but I don't worry about food. I don't worry about clothes. I don't worry about a roof over my head. If I want to go to the movies, we get to go. If I want to go on a vacation, we get to plan it. But I mean, to be honest, I have no idea.
No, that was a great answer.
Because I'm going to get those things regardless of whether he makes the money or not. That's the balance. Like, if I want to go on a vacation, he's like, babe, we just can't do it. Then I'm going to be like, well, I want to. So what do I need to do to get us there? What do I need to help you along the way to help you get us there? If you want me home to take care of the baby, like, what do we need to do together? But that's the high value character and integrity of being able to say, hey, we can't do this right now. All right, babe, I want to do it for us. So how can we get there?
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Mike, what's your definition of a high value man?
Okay, so this is like the go-to for all these like panel shows, is like what we go with the high value man thing. So one of the things that makes it very different is for a woman and a man, is when we say high value man, we're talking about like how valued is he by the opposite sex, or how valuable is he to, like, say, the open market. And for a woman, those things are two very different things. And for a man, a lot of times they're the same thing. And what I mean by that is, let's say a good-looking Tom Brady, he plays quarterback, he's good-looking, he's a good player, he's got a high-profile lifestyle, and he was at one point married to a very, very successful Victoria's Secret model. If you look at all those things make him more marketable. Companies want him to market their product, and it also makes him sexually attractive to women. You see, Dante, how both of those things are the same. He's sexually attractive to women, and he's skilled. You could say the same thing. Let's say we have a cardiologist. He's incredibly proficient at doing heart transplants, and he's makes a lot of money, and he's a leader of men, and all these things. So now he's good at his job, which makes him attractive on the open market, and he's attractive to women. So now we have a woman here, and she's a cardiologist. And let's say there's a woman, and I have a daughter, and she does a heart transplant on my daughter and saves my daughter's life. To me, that is an incredibly high value woman, but I'm not more sexually attracted to her because she's a good cardiologist. You see the difference? This is where the confusion happens, where when men get on these shows and like, well, men generally want women who are feminine and blah, blah, blah. And they name all these feminine qualities from, red pill dogma or whatever. And women are like, men think women are trash. No, that's not what we're saying. Like Madame Curie, when she discovers radium, that's incredible. She wins the Nobel Prize for that. But it doesn't make her husband's penis harder because she discovered radium. And so that's the difference. Does that make sense? A woman might date a man. If he wins a Nobel Prize, she actually might become more attracted to him for winning a fucking Nobel Prize. That's incredible. Right? But a man generally doesn't feel the same way about a woman for the same reasons. And so that's the reason why. So when we go about what is a high value man, this is a very dangerous, not dangerous, but it can have some very ugly repercussions. Because if you ask me, what is the value of Apple stock, or what is the value of the S&P 500, there's a defined value, and that value is based on supply and demand. And if you look at that value based on supply and demand, you get an actual number. And some of those people who supply and demand are horrible, horrible people. Some of them are good people. So the reason why I bring that up is there's some men out there who are terrible people who thousands of women want to sleep with. Hundreds of thousands of women, terrible, terrible people. right? But they do. So what will happen is we'll ask women, hey, what do you think a high value man is? And they'll be like, well, I think it's disgusting that Leonardo DiCaprio keeps breaking up with these women when they turn 25 years old. That wasn't the question, though. I didn't ask you what a good man was. I asked you what a high value man is. And I would never break up with my girlfriend because she turned 25. But more women want to sleep with Leonardo DiCaprio than me, even if I am a good man who works in fucking animal rescue. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So when we talk about value, like objective value, the problem is when you talk about objective, like a great example would be Dan Bilzerian. You'll be like, a ton of women will be like, he's disgusting, womanizing, fucks all these women, terrible. And then I'll be like, okay, so if I go to his house, I'm not going to see 300 girls trying to sleep with him. Yeah, you will. And they'll be really hot because I've been to his house like 15 times. And there's always a new group of 21-year-olds trying to sleep with him. So when we have these definitions, first off, the answer, Dante, is there is no answer. But the problem is what I said before, what makes a man high value tends to also make him attractive. And what makes a woman high value does not tend to make her attractive. And so that's the reason why there's a separation between these two things. And that's all the reason why when we say high value man, if we're talking about does the opposite sex desire this man, that when we talk about like, is he protecting? Is he providing? Some of the biggest scumbags I've ever met have slept with more women than anyone I've ever met. And some of the nicest dudes I've ever met haven't had sex in 5 years. So that's the problem. So that's why this whole conversation, when we say high value man, we just leave this big fucking bubble of ambiguity where we can't actually answer the question. What man do women find more sexually attractive? And what women would a man rather have raise her kids with him? These are two completely different questions. And if you're asking what man would a woman generally want to have, I'm just guessing here, I'm not a woman here, but I'm going to guess a protector, a provisioner, a provider, and someone in my estimation who would be willing to die for his tribe. That's a good man. That's a good man. But a lot of those good men went to Normandy in 1944 and died for their fucking country. And when they got home, do you know that 75% of the men who fought in World War II had to file for divorce because their wives cheated on them? Those are your high value men, but they got cheated on when they got home. So that's where this whole thing gets really confusing, Dante. That's why this discussion in its ambiguity, that's why no one will ever come up with an answer for this question.
I mean, I think you killed it with that answer. That it's the sexual value, not the value to society or the value in character. That's a great point. I think that creates a whole conversation, not centered in, logic and respect, but it just triggers a lot of different people because they feel like they're being attacked.
Like one of my favorite ones is like, oh, a high value man would never cheat. That's Brad Lee came on my show and he said that, and I'm like, Brad, I'm like, the dudes I know who like are insanely attractive to women have slept with the most women I've ever seen and constantly cheat on their girlfriend. And you keep telling me this, but I just look at the world and the world tells me something objectively different. Now, are they good men? No. If my daughter was dating one of these dudes, I would break their fucking jaw. Of course, that's what I'm saying. But when we keep saying we start putting these aspersions on these men, I cannot fucking believe that this guy would ever do this. And I'm like, yeah, he did it, because here's the other problem is that men keep rewarding bad behavior from women, OnlyFans and like other things where, women do things that men don't want in a relationship. And then that ends up being the standard for women, and women reward men who do bad things, which is why women keep complaining about narcissists. Do you want to know why women keep complaining about narcissists? Because they keep sleeping with narcissists. If women all decided, if 4 billion women on this planet all said at the same time, we will never have sex with another narcissist, psychopath, or Machiavellian person, or person with borderline personality disorder, we will never have sex with another one of them, those attributes would be wiped out of existence. But they won't, because women still reward those behaviors. And because of that, they're still pervasive. That's how natural selection works.
Incredible. Yeah. If anybody wants to jump in, Sylvia, I know you've been raising your hand, like just unmute, go ahead and add.
No. Do you want to go first? Does anybody else want to go first?
Well, I was just going to say what it is with the rewarding the bad behavior in terms of like men in relationships not wanting girls with OnlyFans, but then going and seeking women who have OnlyFans or have a porn addiction. I think what it is it's the Madonna whore complex. It's the guy, they want the woman that's a freak in the bed, and they want to do everything that they see online, but they don't want that quality in a wife, in somebody that they're marrying, but they want that. They want like a freak all the time, but they want a faithful freak. There's this like fight. And I think it's a porn addiction. Honestly, I really believe that it is that. You know, I make money on my OnlyFans and I'm freaking single. I make money on my OnlyFans from people who are in relationships, like men who are married and in relationships. It's disgusting.
The issue isn't you doing that. I don't like, honestly, people think I judge women on OnlyFans. I do not. Dude, if I was going to make 300 grand in a month, I would tell everyone else to shut the fuck up. And I would be like, yeah, where's my kid going to go to? What's it going to be like when your child goes to school and gets made fun of? I don't know when they're at the yard at Harvard getting made fun of. I don't really give a fuck what's going when they're at Oxford. And dude, it's just one of these things. I'm saying the problem that's happened is the arena for men and women has been created by the opposite sex. So men compete on an arena that women reward, and women compete on an arena that men reward. And that's essentially what's happened here before. But just going back to what you're saying before, Dante, there is no way to define this question. We're all going to come up there and say, this is what I wish my partner was, and then we're going to say that's what a high value person is, and then we're going to look at the rest of the world and see that that's just not what's going on. Like whenever I hear, go ahead.
Well, I think go ahead.
What I was going to say is there's a couple things. So one, and this is I guess more of a rhetorical question. Like we talk about high value man, body count this, and where the line of value is. And men expect for a high value women, at least for a high value woman, at least from what I'm hearing, body count matters. Okay, so if a man is able to go and have sex with 20 women, but women are expected to have sex with one man, who are you having sex with? Okay, secondly, that's just a rhetorical question to all of this, whatever. When it comes to defining high value, the reason it's so skewed is because...
Why did everybody freeze?
And so what goes on is when
we can hear you.
You look at high value, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. This is Natalia's end.
Nobody else. Sorry.
Try rejoining, Natalia.
Maybe I'm freezing up the computer because
you're good. Continue.
Okay. But when it comes to value, everybody has an opinion on what they value. So Leonardo DiCaprio, as an example, values youth, values being able to be in and out of the relationship. I don't know him personally, but from what it looks like and from what you're telling me, he values being able to have fun. He's not valuing, hey, I want a nice little wife at home, and this is what's high value to me. To him, it's looks, it's availability, it's no commitment. Like he doesn't have to be fully committed. So when it comes to value, that scale of, well, what's valuable, what's not. And that's why I said it's good character and good integrity, because Leonardo DiCaprio is rich. And let me tell you, money does matter. It does to an extent, though, because when you're talking to a high value woman, there are certain requirements for a high value woman that we require. For instance, the confidence that a high value woman has compared to, I guess, what we're using low value women, right? So the confidence needs to be there. And Leonardo DiCaprio has every right to say, hey, I don't want to be married. Like, from the beginning of time, even Jesus said that. Some people just are not meant to be married. But the way you treat people, the way you conduct yourself, the way you're into business, what are your goals? Are you successful in a way that you're productive, that you're not, that you're making it? So value is a perception to an extent, but what is agreeable is usually, I would think, is, how we treat each other. So yeah, let's say Leonardo DiCaprio wants that, and then there's a high value 40-year-old woman that's like, I'm going to need more than that. But Leonardo DiCaprio is honest. Hey, baby, I'm not looking for a long-term relationship. Once you're 25, we're going to call it quits. Like, don't expect long-term with this. And I believe that's because he really hasn't found the high-value woman that can help complete him and help move him along. Because I still believe in that sense that man and woman complete each other. But you have to find the woman that completes you. And that's why polygamists can be respectful. That's why it's like, why is it so offensive for people to have these different beliefs as long as they're respecting those around them? If you're not lying to me and you're telling me I don't want a serious relationship as a woman, A high value woman, you should respect that and know what you really want. Because let's be honest, you can be an OnlyFans and still be respectable to a lot of people. And it really comes down to business. What are you doing in your life? Where's this OnlyFans leading you? And is this man who you're wanting to be with on board with that to say, yeah, let's do this? Like, hell yeah, baby, make 300,000 doing that. But you may have another high value man, not Leonardo DiCaprio, who's like, I don't want anything to do with that kind of stuff. I don't want the backlash of the baggage and the trust issues and the belief system that changes when you experience so many people in a certain way. Like, it changes you. Everything, every choice we make changes us. But at the end of the day, honesty of who you are and what you want is a high value. And if you're gonna be with a McDonald's worker, but he loves you, he respects you, he protects you, because I've come a long way in my life, and I've met some thugs that can really protect me. Ain't nobody gonna talk to me. Ain't nobody gonna look at me. Oh, baby, what did he just say to me? Oh, bam, he's out of the picture because I'm gonna mess him up. But guess what? Here I am getting beat. He's not a high value man. You know what I mean? So protection, it's a percent. There's more to high value. There's more to value in the reception of how are we going to make it together. So you have to find a partner, a valuable partner, man, woman, whatever. But the value comes in, how do you treat me as a person? Are we able to get together and say, baby, I want kids, I want this, I want to do this? Like, make a plan together. Is he the one that helps you compete with that? I don't want you in OnlyFans, baby, but I know you're there now. How are we going to get you out of there? What's our business plan? When is enough enough? You know what I mean? So the value isn't that it's completely defined in one sentence. However, if you have good character and you have good integrity, then, you're not going to lie about it. And you're going to have a moral ground that if it just doesn't work, it just doesn't work. And we need to walk away. But I can still be friends with someone who's a polygamist. I can still be friends with someone who believes in, hey, I'm a pimp, baby. And you know what? My girls go out and they make me money. But they're protected. They make 200 grand a year. I provide, make sure they have housing. I make sure they're clean, but I have 8 of them. Like, how am I going to hate on that and say that's not high value? Guess what? That's high value to them. That's not high value to me, and I'm not going to be with them. So value really comes from a self-perception of what you find you can't live without. I can't live without $200,000 a year. Okay. But guess what? A high value woman is not expecting the man to carry all that weight. A high value woman's like, I want 200 grand a year, baby. If you ain't making it, I'm making it. And we can part ways. I think that's where the difference comes in understanding what that real value is. I mean, these little things like, well, what's your body count? Well, if you care about my body count, I don't need to be with you. Because where am I today? What are we doing today? Where are we going? What's the plan? I want to do this.
Yeah, no, it's irrelevant. That what you did is totally irrelevant, because who I was 10 years ago, who I was 5 years ago may not be who I am today. And people change so drastically, but they want to still hold other people accountable for what they've done in the past. And I think for me, high value wouldn't be a man who cares about body count. It's not important. I don't want to know what your body count either. It's not important to me.
It does matter, though. I'm sorry, Dan.
No,
go ahead. Is it okay? I think
an important distinction here between men and women that I see is that women tend to tack on the attributes of, so what they're doing is they're taking a high value person and then adding what they would like to see from or in that high value person. So it's a very unique measurement. Whereas with guys, we get it from observing other guys, right? So my definition of high value is that you're recognized by other men as having a lot of options, especially in the female arena, right? That's it. Like, guys learn to recognize the guys that are good at that, and they start to emulate some of those qualities, try them out, try them on. That's why, things like money, it's so effective because we see it's effective. And so we know to try the things. It's a school of hard knocks for guys because it's so much harder to get a sexual partner. whereas females just have to knock on the door. So this point of view of these attributes that they want in a what you guys are calling high value males are just things that are born out of your life experiences that you're now trying to narrow the field of high value males. That's not a high value male. A high value male can certainly care about your body count. And in fact, I would question one that didn't, because your past can matter to his future. So I'll tell you what, no dude wants to happen is you go to a party and he goes up and you meet Tom and Tom's like, yeah. And he makes it crystal clear that he's slept with your girl before, right? No dude wants that to happen. Never, not one time ever. And so just the threat, the higher the body count, that's just one issue with body count. So sure, there can be exceptions, but for somebody to say like, oh, that doesn't count, that's being as naive as saying that's the only thing that matters, right?
See,
Every guy's gonna.
And I would agree with you, Dan. I agree with what Dante said, and I agree with Michael that for the societal norm of a high value male, not as us women defined it in this episode, is, you know, somebody that's making above six figures, somebody who is over 6 foot tall, is that Tom Brady type, is somebody that does care about the female's body type, body count. It is looking for a classically attractive, you know, supermodel type woman, probably under the age of 25, is, you know, looking for all of those things while they themselves are career successful. And what we defined as, you know, as females is completely subjective to our own experiences. And at what point in our lives you ask us, you know, what you would have asked me that when you've asked me that question in my 20s, it would have been a completely different answer. I would have been so much more focused, less on income, more on core values and shared common belief systems, maybe on spiritual beliefs, you know, things like that. So, but then after marriages, after me carrying people in relationships and having to step into my masculine when they didn't step up, and not wanting to do that and wanting to be in my feminine at this point in my career or at this point in my life, and not wanting to have to focus on career any longer. That's when, you know, things like money and their success and their value becomes a different priority. So I think it's a very subjective question.
Excellent. So hold on. Moving forward, let's keep all, because we have many different topics that I want to get into.
Thank you.
Let's keep our answers concise and short. Just as a reminder for everybody, Mike, Sam, especially Sam, because I haven't heard from you yet. Anything you want to interject there?
Not necessarily. I'm a bit lost in the question just for 2 seconds. I had to jump off, but remind me of the question again.
So what makes a high value man? And based on Michael's
basically,
breakdown, real quick,
how can you ever compete with a question like Michael answered every single point there is, right? The only way that I can say, the only differentiation I can make is don't be a cuck. Because for some reason, they're promoting this shit so hard, right? When you've got, you know, the biggest influencers in the world promoting this and pushing this and being like, it's still cool, guys, and going on this. It's like, if you're saying this is what a high value man is, the only thing that I would say that's not a high value man is letting someone fuck your girl. That's it. And then you being okay with it and you going back to it, it's just like, the reason they're pushing it, they want you like that. They want you weak. They want you these things. So don't be a cuck. And when you've got the biggest influencers in the world now, like you got one cuck helping another cuck not out cuck themselves with what's happening on Twitter right this second. That's like the opposite of what a high value man is. So it's good to know both sides.
In the US, don't we call that a chump?
But in contrary though, if you go into religious types of beliefs or people who have different beliefs, there are men worth a lot of money, like some very rich men who do have women that they share for profit. So if we don't want to be judgmental on lifestyle, those women that are okay with that being what they would call in the old days concubines, like, how are we going to say he's a chump if their relationship is open and honest and they know their role? Now, is that my high value? No. And in societal norms, which is a good take on this, because norms are what define like what's okay for a woman. What am I going to be looked down upon? But how are we going to say that that makes them a chump if they're getting what they're getting? Like, well, I'm a multimillionaire and I have 6 concubines, and guess what? If you want to have a night with them and you want to learn a thing or two, they'll teach you the intimacy of how to get to a woman. Like, you can make, I mean, there's money to be made there. So it's about business too. What is your business in this world? What are our goals? If your business,
but you're talking about outliers.
money,
You're talking about outliers that are thing. The
Yeah.
majority of the people, it's if you talk about an outlier and then say, well, let's change this whole thing because one person or a selected minority want that, then that's not the case. You can't change that, right? It's like the whole
Right.
thing is like, there's a guy that came on that literally was the guy that did the paternity tests at the hospitals, right? And to say that 40% of all paternity tests was not the father,
right?
is not in a, by promoting that and pushing that, is not helping that. It's not
Right,
helping
but-
statistic. Is
but at the
breaking
same
up
time-
families. Is doing this. Is doing that.
Mhm.
It's like when
But then
you
that's
see
character,
something
right?
that's being pushed, and then you realize that there's a cascading effect of like, this happens, this happens, this happens, this
Mhm.
happens, and you're like, oh shit, this is one of the culprits, right? So why be pushing that? Why be promoting like, these are like cool people, you should be like them, and this and that, especially for young people, you know, looking up to people such as your Logan Paul situation right now, such as your Adam 22 situation, such as your Destiny, and all these kind of things. These young kids are impressionable to that, and they think, oh, that's normal. Come 10, 15 years later, do you think that's going to be good for society that men allow, like, for children and all sorts of things? I'd like to get your opinion on that.
Couple things before your response, Sylvia. So number one, based on Michael's term, because I think that's a great point, moving forward with the conversation, it's sexual market value. Not is he a good man or not, but is he attractive sexually? And the second thing is, I would love, Sam, for you to touch on, so yes, saying that, everything that you said, it highlights like, okay, so everybody listening is like, it's bad to be a cuck, but why? Because if all these really influential people like Destiny and stuff, like before I got into,
hold on, Destiny's bisexual. Like I don't think it's a really good.
Well, I mean, that's one of the ones I've heard
a
a lot of people say. I'm not saying he is a cuck, but
but no, Destiny, like he open. So here's the thing: it's great because there's 3 levels, right? Destiny is openly bisexual, who lets his girl sleep with other dudes, and they both decided to be polyamorous before the fact, and they agreed to be polyamorous before they got married. Adam 22 had only had sex with his wife and no one else. And then when they got married as a wedding gift, he let her pick her favorite male porn star and have sex with him on camera. And it is the #1 selling video on OnlyFans of all time. They said that they did 50x of what they thought they did. So I'm guessing they probably made in excess of $20 million off that video. And then third is the situation with Logan Paul, where he was clearly just lied to by a woman who was climbing the social hierarchy, told him some kind of story about her being a virgin or being with very few guys, and then they start dating, and now he's fighting Dylan Dennis, who has gone on and posted literally hundreds of photos of this girl with other guys and videos of her saying that I sucked a dick in a fucking a football stadium, a packed football stadium, that I don't like the shape of penises. I like them hidden inside of me. Like just not vile. I mean, she can say whatever she wants, but like she's basically Brittany Renner trying to pretend like she was a virgin, and he is taking the ultimate L. The L he's taking is bigger than the one Adam 22 did, because he's a fucking porn star who's fucked 300 girls with his wife. This is a completely different L. The L that Logan is taking, I mean, he's taking like we're talking like, you know, like Joseph Stalin level L. Like this is like horrible career destroying what's happened. Like he may have to consider getting out of the public limelight if he loses this fight, like that level. And why? It's because his girlfriend has more, you know, horrifically embarrassed him, and he can't comment on the fact that, you know, basically this girl came to him and been like, I've been with very few guys. And it looks like, at least to the fact that she's entertained. I mean, I would guess there's a picture of Leonardo DiCaprio with his hand on her face, like gently caressing her. Like this girl looks like she's been with I don't mean to say, if she's been with less than 50, I would be shocked. If she's been with less than 100, I'd be very surprised. Like this girl has been around and clearly just had this this goal to climb the ladder, found Logan, hooked him in, and now he's having to pay the consequences for the fact that he was lied to. Now, if Logan was like, I love the fact that my girlfriend has a high body count and I like to watch her fuck other dudes. If he had said that openly, a lot of people would have made fun of him, but then no one would be ridiculing him right now because he would have taken the L up front. Now the problem is because women are like, well, body count doesn't really matter. I like, if you lie to your boyfriend and say you never did porn and then porn of you comes out, that is, I don't think you understand. Like my business, like if porn of Kylie came out, that would end my business. The opposite isn't true. If porn of Adam 22 came out, it doesn't end Lena the Plug's business. The opposite, if it turns out Logan Paul fucked a girl that he said he never fucked, it doesn't destroy his fiance's like modeling career. It only works in one direction. And so I really do think that there's a lot more pressure on men when it comes to this kind of stuff, as long as you're open about it. If you're open about it, like if you're a male porn star dating a female porn star and both of you have been with 1,000 people, no one would tweet about it. No one cares because you have both signed the contract and the contract clearly states, I have a high body count, you have a high body count, and we agree to that. And that's totally fine. But that's not what's happened in the Logan Paul situation. This guy has been like FTX'd at this point. He has been completely like it's one of the most horrible. And then I see women try to stand up for her and like, I can't believe you guys are shaming her for sleeping with all these people. No, we're shaming her for lying. We're shaming her for lying. We don't go on there every day and talk to, oh my God, I can't believe Nikki Benz slept with all the, like, what name whatever porn star. We don't shame them. We don't shame fucking, Mia Khalifa does get shamed, but that's because she lies about what she did afterwards. But like we don't shame them. We don't shame mainstream porn stars for doing it because they own up to it. It's the problem is that like you don't own up to it. And then later on it comes out that you just lied about everything. And then you think that you shouldn't have to deal. Like, have you heard, what's her face? Lana Rhodes coming out being like, I can't believe that there's still videos of me having sex with all these people that are out there. I feel horrible that that's out there and there should be laws passed against it. And I'm like, yeah, but then you also could have like just not done porn. That's another option. Do you ever think about that? Also, here's a great idea. Your name isn't Lana Rhodes. That's your porn name that you still keep and use in order to host a podcast. Here's a third option. You're on OnlyFans still making sexual content, but you want the porn to be gone. This seems a little bit counterintuitive. So the problem for most guys is not that you have a high body count, it's that you're going to lie to us about it. And if we have a preference for not wanting to be with a girl with a high body count, it seems to be okay for women to have a preference for men who make a lot of money or men who are of a certain height. That preference is never shamed, but the preference for me not wanting to be with a woman who's been with 100 dudes, all of a sudden I'm judgmental and insecure.
And I believe that you guys are making really good points. And I think that like everything you said right there is absolutely true. So if we're going back to societal norms and what's best for society, that kind of changes the viewpoint, because honestly, that is a high value man type of response. Because yeah, what are we thinking about? Where is your future? So I would say, like, I haven't dated women or anything, or a man who's done OnlyFans, but I would say, as someone who does OnlyFans, if I were to date a man who does OnlyFans, I would say, what's your business plan to get out of this? Because as much as we like to believe in this day and age, or as much as I see people trying to believe in this day and age that body count doesn't matter, women are equal to men, we're not equal to men. Like, if we were equal to men naturally, why aren't men having babies? Where's the maternal instinct? So there is, because I will tell you right now, my man has probably one of the highest body counts. Like, if I met him back in the day, we would not be together. We wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't have looked at him twice. But that experience.
Does OnlyFans and body count equate the same thing?
No, it doesn't. No.
Right.
I know some of the women I know who's have the least amount of sex in the world are on OnlyFans. Yeah,
exactly.
But you can have the least amount of body count on OnlyFans, but it does say something to your character that you're willing to allow people to have this access to what's supposed to be something intimate. And I think that's what's wrong with society today. Because if you say good character, good integrity, you know, and so that I'm not dominating any conversation here, I just want to point out one more thing, and I'm going to shut up.
Does everybody agree with that?
But what?
Does it say something to your character if you're on OnlyFans?
I would agree. Having an OnlyFans, I would agree.
Here's the thing, though, really
muted,
quick,
Dan.
because I don't fault you. Just one thing I want to say. This is what I want to say. I don't mind, like, if a man is OnlyFans, I want to know your plan. Like, what's your business plan? What's your 5-year plan? Because if you're going to do something that's so drastic and controversial to societal norms, and it's a breakthrough because our society is changing. Norms are changing. People are trying to change those, right?
Nobody can see my face. It's just feet pics. It's just feet pics. Nobody can see shit. And
That's hot. That's hot.
And I already bought three. I bought three Airbnbs. I already bought 3 rental properties with all these feet pic money.
Like, what's the point? Like, is your goal just not to think about it? Because that changes your value in whatever you do. If you're
Gotcha.
like, oh, I don't know, I'm just doing it for the money. Well, where is your
There's no
retirement?
strategy. Yeah, you have to
Where's
have
the long-term exit
strategy.
strategy for the business that you're
Exactly.
doing that's controversial?
Listen, if you make $500,000 a month, you don't need a long-term business strategy. You need an S&P 500 and you're good. Like, I agree with you guys up to a certain point where you can make enough money where it doesn't matter. Like, I just,
Yeah, no,
I know, and I girls who do
a
that.
high-value woman, do you believe, this is directly to you with the cat, I apologize, I'm whatever, my mind and holding on to names, but sir, do you believe that a high-value woman
Cat Dill.
in OnlyFans making, or in anything, oh, I just make $500,000 a year, like, I'm just strumming along. It doesn't have to be OnlyFans. It could be a cardiac surgeon. But like you said, that doesn't change. But what's your future plan? Like, how are you going to work with me? Like, well, do you believe, here's the direct question. Sorry, I apologize. Do you believe that someone bringing in $500,000 and you're like, so what's your future goals? Oh, I don't know. I'm just living life, making $500,000. I really have no plans. Does that change the value compared to someone who's doing the exact same thing, making the exact same money and says, you know what? I'm making $500,000 a year. My plan is I want to be a multimillionaire and be able to not have to do this so that I'm making money without having to put myself out there. Because as a woman, it changes things. If I'm over there being OnlyFans, and I don't know for me, because I've done some stuff. I've been a dancer, but my dancer was not because that's my lifetime goal. You know what I mean? I did what I did. That doesn't mean that should follow me around and say, anyways. So to basically say this, does it change your perception? Would you value a woman who says, this is what I plan versus a woman that says, you know, it's just sweat in the air. I'm just living life. And then age is in 20-year-old. Oh, I'm just living life. Doesn't have the maturity of the good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for someone who's 20 who does her value change to you? Does that make her more high value to you or less?
Yeah, I don't think most guys care about how much money a girl makes. But
No,
I'm saying it from yeah.
You personally, would that change your perception on whether she's higher value?
Yes. So Sylvia, yeah, it's very simple. If a woman is posting pictures where she's not nude on her OnlyFans, a lot of women do that. I don't care if she has an OnlyFans. If a woman is posting nude, it's a little bit of an eyebrow raise. If she's fucking herself with a dildo, it's a little bit more. And if she's fucking other men, to say her husband, that's not great. If she's fucking multiple other men, there is no possibility that I am going to be in a relationship with a woman who has videos of her fucking other men on camera, period. It's just, that's my choice. And I'm not insecure for feeling that way because I run a male performance coaching business. And one of the things I don't want to do is have my girlfriend come on the call. Like, just imagine like Layla and Alex Hermosi. They had their book release yesterday, and all of a sudden a video of Layla Hermosi, like fucking 2 guys at the same time, comes out. You don't think that would affect Alex Hermosi's business detrimentally? That would be horrific for his business. And if the opposite video came out, no one would give a fuck, because do you want to know during the Clinton administration when their highest approval rating was? Anybody want to know? It was after the Monica Lewinsky affair. After the Monica Lewinsky affair, that was the highest approval rating he had during his entire administration. Do you know that we elected a man in this country who fucked a porn star while his wife was pregnant, and no one gave a shit? No one cared. So is there a double standard? Yes. And do men care about it? Yes, because biologically things are different. Like if a man has sex with a bunch of women, then it just doesn't hurt his ability to run for public office or be CEO of a company. But the other way it does. And I'm not saying it's right. It is a double standard, but it's also true, because when Future says, "I fucked your bitch in some Gucci flip flops," that's like he's embarrassing people. That's why they say that stuff. That's where it comes from. So I'll tell you right now, a lot of men do care. That's the reason why they care. And some men don't care. They choose to not care. But I will tell you, as a person who has a public profile, it is something that I always have to look at, because everyone in my arena, every time they have a girlfriend, their girlfriend is doxxed. Everything their girlfriend's ever done is put on camera. Every mistake you've ever made is put out there. So it is very, very serious.
Beautiful. Dan, you look like you want to add something there.
So Sylvia asked earlier, like, she would ask her OnlyFans guy, "What's your plan to get out of OnlyFans?" Because he's making $500,000, $300,000. And if that was me and I had OnlyFans and you asked me that question, my answer would be none of your business. No offense, but it's just not your business. It's my business to run, and I'll run it how I see fit. And if you want to hang, then please hang. And if you don't want to hang, that's cool too. But you got to understand that this is my business. I created this business and I'll run it how I see fit. And it's your job to choose a mate that you feel has the value and the things that are important to you. But in no way whatsoever do I answer my business questions from my potential romantic partner. You're on mute, Sylvia. So if you're lecturing me, I'm not hearing it. No, you're still on.
That's a strong, high value man answer.
It's just like, what's the point? I'm only introducing something that could be argued about. And in all likelihood, I'm going to run my business how I see fit anyway. And if I put it out there as if that's questionable or can be debated, then it will be. I find that women's greatest quality, but sometimes most frustrating quality, is that they fill up the space that they're given. And so if I open up that space for debate, they will, of course, fill it up. If I don't
ask questions you don't want answers to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious as to why, Dan, now you wouldn't respect, not because I mean, it's an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. But if your potential partner is like, well, I mean, I guess I'm answering my own question, because then she could probably kick rocks, right?
You don't trust me to run my business? That's why you're with me, right? I got to making $500,000. Why do you think that's
exactly?
Gonna stop?
So now
you didn't get there with her.
I'm already successful.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be okay with? But would you be okay with the woman giving you that same answer?
No.
Why is that?
Because it matters. Like, so in a female in a relationship, she has a job, right? And that job is to either pay attention to me or do this other job that she has, right? It's very, 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 very difficult to do two jobs at a very, very high level. Which job wins, right? If you
a man making that kind of money doesn't need a woman making that kind of money. Is that what you're saying?
If I want to go somewhere on Tuesday and you're like, I have to work early, I'm like, really? What for? And I get it. Like, you might want to keep that job in case like I don't choose you, right? And at some point I break up with you and now you have to go back to that other life that you led before you got here. That's great. And if you want to keep that and increase the likelihood that happens, because I think that's all it's doing, right? If you have one foot out the door, like, probably I'm going to go ahead and push your other foot out the door, right? Like, if somebody's not all in, they should be all out. And so, yes, you're right. If you were to get kicked to the curb, that job would come in handy, right? Your OnlyFans site still running. I mean, I would never date anybody with OnlyFans, but knowingly. But yeah.
If they're hiding it from you, you don't want to date them anyway, because you don't want to date a liar.
Well, so. It's not the lie; it's the lie that she's choosing to tell, right? Lying in and of itself.
It's being deceitful right out the gate. No.
Everybody massages things, right? But I have to be able to make the decisions that I want to make. So she has to evaluate my standards and uphold my standards. And if she doesn't, then she's not useful to me. And if she's not useful, then what are we doing? There's somebody else that's more useful.
Beautiful. Okay, we're going to go to the next topic, which is the other side of the coin for this question. What makes, and again, talking about sexual market value, not make, a good person, like what do men desire in a high value woman? What is a high value woman? How is she desirable to a man? Laura, if you want to go first, we'll go to Natalia, Sylvia, and then to the men.
I would say traditionally attractive. So she is sexually attractive. She's fit. She's beautiful. She's probably like able to conceive children. She's probably young. She is attentive to his needs. She's feminine and submissive and caring. Yeah, those probably would be some of the priorities. Family oriented, I would imagine. Things like that.
Awesome. How about you, Natalia?
Same thing, feminine, attractive, a woman that takes care of herself, health is wealth kind of mentality. A woman that has a good moral compass, that isn't morally corrupt. There's always a right and a wrong situation, and she's always doing, making the right choices. She has integrity. So when her man's not around, she's doing the right thing. Someone who is like positive. There's a lot of women who are very like negative and they're just like nasty. So a very positive woman, she could, she's the sunshine in your day. Also, like just someone who's like your biggest cheerleader. Like when I'm with someone, I'm your biggest fan. I am constantly supporting your goals and bigging you up. And like, you got this, babe. Like, big on like being together and like understanding that men and women need each other, period. Not a woman who's like, men ain't shit, da da da. Like, you don't want a man a woman that's operating in her masculine, where she's Miss Independent, she's boss babe, but she's not domesticated in any way, shape, or form. She can't keep a clean house or cook or provide for her family in a way that a woman would. Maternal, the glue of the family, because I feel like feminism has taken a turn where they take women out of the home, and I feel like women traditionally were the glue of the family. So a woman like that, but for me also, it's like, get you a woman who could do both, because I can stay at home and take care of the kids, but I can also build something, because I'm a union carpenter, so I could do that, but a woman like that.
Beautiful. I'm going to go to you next, Sylvia, if you can keep your answer short and concise to the point.
Okay.
Like 30 seconds or less. Qualities that make a woman desirable.
She knows her place.
Awesome. So for the guys, no worries, Natalia, go ahead. For the guys, we can start with Sam, go to Dan, and go to Mike. What makes a woman high value to you? And if you'd also like to add, because a lot of submissiveness was a common theme here in all their answers, what makes a woman high value to you? And also, why do you think women in today's society are so against being submissive and feminine? I'd love to hear your take on that, Sam.
Great question. Everything's been discussed. So again, one thing that I really, really look for is a girl that's isn't disrespectful. And there are subtle forms of disrespect that are creeping into every interaction you have, every single opinion, every conversation you have. So I look for a girl that's not disrespectful and that makes my life peaceful. That's it. They're the things I look for. Peace. My life is already chaotic as it is. I look to come back to the girl that I love, not for more fucking chaos. I just look for peace. I look for tranquility. And so when she's in the feminine, obviously the girls that I've been that are more feminine have resonated more with the cooking, the cleaning, those kind of things. She wants to make the home a peaceful place. She wants you to rest your, basically tend to your wounds. The feminine energy is so for a man is so it's worth fighting for, right? And that's why a lot of the time, a lot of things have come to fighting over feminine energy, or just women and their nurturing nature. And so for me, why has that diminished? It's because I would say a lot of the time, especially coming from Australia, the way that it's panned out is that we've started to, or the government or institutions or whatever you want to call it, have made decisions that have really affected the family. And by that affected, I really look at cascade effects. So one thing happened, like a catalyst, and then another thing and another thing and another thing. So if you've had a look, any destruction of the family is a bad thing. And now, we've got 50, what was it? It's like 50% of marriages are failing. If she's had more than 5 partners, over 70% of marriages are failing. If you're in a single household, you've got with a mother, you're more chance of the boy going to jail, all these kind of things.
College educated, the divorce rate goes to 90%.
Crazy. I don't think there is a clear-cut answer, because I think there's so many. I think it's been an assault on the family. And when there's an assault on the family, you can't pinpoint one thing. It can't be this, that, or another thing. You could say, well, it's feminism, well, it's this, well, it's that. It's the, the debt that we owe to the Decepticons, or whoever the fuck we owe it to. It's like there's so many different factors, but we know for a fact that it has happened. And really, the way that we should be looking at is how can we put it towards where it's actually beneficial. And I think that's what me and Mike definitely do a lot more of, which is pushing like how to be a man, a masculine man to your core in your prime, and be able to be a high value person in today's society. Because as a byproduct, you get more opportunities to be able to find a potential mate that fits your categories and your what you desire.
Outstanding, man. Thank you for sharing. Dan, what do you think makes a high value woman? And also, why do you think women in today's society are so opposed to being submissive and things like, the cliche, making the sandwich, keeping the house clean?
Right. So I differ than this average answer, and that's because I think compliance is important, but I also think that when guys are considering marriage, that there needs to be a spark, a little bit of feistiness in the woman. But what marks her as high value is that she's attractive, the guy finds her attractive, and that she's able to drop into compliance in the right moments, right? And that's different for every guy, right? But she has to be able to look at the situation and go, oh, I need to comply right now, 100%. It has to go, whatever it is, 2%, 8%, all the way to 100, almost instantaneously, right? And if it doesn't happen in those situations, right? Let's say you're out and, you see some dude that maybe she used to date, right? And that's not an issue, right? Having, dated somebody he's like a nice guy, but you're like, no, that's cool. I don't want to talk to him. Then she has to go to 100 and just be like, that's it. It's over. Let's go. Right. If she's like, no, I'm going to talk to him, it would be rude not to talk to him. Now I'm like, there you go. Go talk to him then.
Well, can you real quick? Because I think it's an amazing story. Can you share the Mark Wahlberg story real quick?
I knew somebody, and she was dating Mark Wahlberg, and they went out to it was like maybe the 8th date, and they went out to the club, and a guy came up to and asked her to dance. He was a black guy, and so she turned to Mark and asked, "Is it okay if I go dance with him?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." And so she went off to dance. She danced the song. She came back. Him and his entourage was gone, right? Wouldn't take her call, anything. And I was like, but that's the talent of a female, is you got to be able to read the room. Like, that's why women are so perceptive. It's because over generations, they've been observing the micro expressions of guys because their safety relied on it, right? They have to be able to tell instantaneously, like, no, I can't do this, right? I'm crossing a line, go back at all costs, right? And so the women that can do that and that are also attractive and a little bit of spice, right? And every guy likes a different amount of, because the more spice is, the more likely she was unattainable to all your peers, right? That's why we don't want to buy high body count as well, is because like we want the pair of shoes from France, right? And the reason is because nobody else has it, right? There is added status in having a girl that nobody else could get, right? And girls don't understand that. They're like, no, my status stays the same if everybody's had me. And I'm like, well, it obviously doesn't. If everybody has something, it no longer has the same status. If one person has it, high value, each successive person, it becomes more ordinary, more normal. That's it. High value want higher status.
Beautiful. And Mike, same question. What do you think makes a woman high value on the sexual marketplace? And what do you think contributes to so many women finding making sandwiches and cleaning the kitchen a repulsive, disgusting idea?
Listen, man, like anybody can do whatever they want. Like I have some friends of mine that are feminists, and they're, whenever there's these TikToks of women are like making sandwiches for their man, and I love taking care of my man and I do this, they're like, oh, you're setting feminism back. And I'm like, no, anybody can do whatever they want. Like as a Christian man, if I know someone who's Muslim and is like, I don't want my wife walking out without, without her face covered. That's his decision. And she has as long as she has a decision to not be in that relationship, I don't really care. Like we really need to be accepting of more women who want to stay in the home. And if a woman doesn't want to stay in the home, that's fine too. But she needs to be more accepting of the men who then don't want to marry her. That's the problem. It's like they want both. They want to live in a world where body count doesn't matter. And that world exists. There is a world like that. It's just in that world, no one wants to marry you. And then when that happens, that doesn't make me judgmental. Like there's nothing insecure about me not wanting to watch another man fuck my wife. That's not weird. That doesn't make me strange. And there's some people legitimately, go look on Twitter, who believe that I'm insecure because I feel that way. And then, conversely, when you ask the questions like, what makes a woman attractive? For me, there's just like four things. I'm just going to talk about my personal relationship. We have to be pulling in the same direction. She has to be outrageous. She has to be loyal to me. We pull in the same direction. She has to bring me peace. She has to show me loyalty as far as like specifically the sexual loyalty, but other loyalty too. Like don't talk about me behind my back to my friends or something like that. And then there's also boundaries in the relationship. Like for instance, one of the boundaries in my relationship is you can ask me how I feel, but you can't tell me how I feel. We don't bring up things later down the line. Passive aggressive behavior is not allowed in my relationship. You have to tell me now. You have to tell me immediately. And then the other thing is, like I said before, you can tell me something hurts your feelings, but you can't tell me I looked at someone up and down and therefore I don't love you. No, you don't. Like those type of relationships are not allowed in my relationship. You don't know what I was looking at and you don't know how I feel. You don't get to tell me how I feel. You are always allowed to ask me how I feel, but you can never tell me how I feel. And so those are the things that I find to be most attractive. And then the other things are like a level of physical attractiveness. I happen to be dating someone who's a lot younger than me, but like youth is not something that I specifically cared that much about. Perfectly. I've had plenty of relationships with women in their mid 30s, and I'm dating someone who's in their early 20s now. Never made any difference to me really that much. There's just a body type that I'm very attracted to and a look that I'm very attracted to. And then there's a level of loyalty where, my girlfriend, she has a Glock 17 sitting next to the bed. And I have no doubt whatsoever that if someone were trying to hurt me, she would shoot them effortlessly. This woman would do anything to protect her relationship with me and to protect her man. And that's one thing I like about her. I love the fact that I have no questions about her loyalty whatsoever. So that's why I chose her. And if I wasn't in a relationship with Kylie, I wouldn't be in a relationship with someone else. It's not like Kylie or some other girl. It would be Kylie or I'd just be single. So she was like, there's a lot of companies that have this thing called a chief revenue officer. Sam might know about a company that has one, a chief revenue officer. Most companies don't have a chief revenue officer. Kylie has the position of Michael's girlfriend. That position didn't exist. It wasn't like in a position that needed to be applied for. I created that position because she was such an incredible candidate. Does that make sense? If she wasn't there, then I would probably just be single. So that's what I find attractive. But going back to the other thing, Dante, yes, I mean, the thing is as far we get further and further away from a survival scenario. Men and women don't need each other for survival anymore. It's not 1850 where we have to have a lot of children together. And when we do, those children help us as farmhands and knitting clothes. And like having 14 children was actually like a survival scenario because you knew you were going to lose children and you literally needed bodies in order to like tend the farm, in order to create subsistence, in order to live. That's all gone now. Now a woman can make $300,000 a year and buy a shotgun, and she legitimately does not need a man in her home. And so as we get further and further away from that, and also the concept of, birth control, allowing for women to say, hey, I want to have sex for sex sake and to do so for enjoyment and not worry about the consequences of it whatsoever. As we do that, a certain cohort of women are going to go in that direction, and then they're going to, become Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B, and then tell other women that that's what they should do too. And I'm going to say this again. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. Don't judge women for wanting to be homemakers, okay? And then if women don't want to be homemakers and say body count doesn't matter and I choose to have sex with 100 men, those women then don't judge men for not wanting to marry you. That's my whole point. Let's just don't judge. And as far as me judging women who have, slept with 100 men, I don't judge. Not only do I not judge them, I invite them on my fucking show, Access Vegas, and we talk about it all the day. I love women who act like sluts. They're incredible. They're super funny. They make me laugh. They're tremendous friends, super fun people to go to nightclubs with. If you have a bunch of like super slutty friends you go to a club with, you get into all the VIP tables. You get invited to all the parties, but I don't want to marry them. That's the only difference.
Beautiful. And on that topic, it moves us to the next topic, which is I had a call with a woman who just graduated from Yale, and she was miserable because after speaking with her, what she really wanted was to have a man provide for her, and she didn't want to work. And she was pressured by family to go to Yale. She hates her degree. She hates the idea of having to move back in with her parents or getting a job. She just wants to be taken care of. So in that little story, the question is, do you think that getting a degree, getting a high-paying job is helpful in attracting a high-value man? And I want to start with Laura. Do you think having a career in a degree and going for that is helpful in attracting a high-value man?
I think that at one time, I don't know that it mattered as much. I think that men have always been attracted to attractive women. And, physical has always been a priority for men. I think that for me, I have a degree. I had a great career. And so by traditional means, I am considered successful and don't need to work. And when I date, if I mention that, I think it is intimidating for men. So I have no problem getting a date based on physical appearance. I'm at probably one of my best physical places in my life. I still have a goal that I'm trying to attain physically with weight. And I think that if I dumb down my success, I do better in the dating pool than if I mention anything about career success. But I know that the healthier I get physically and the better shape I'm in, the better the dating pool gets for me. And the less I mention my success. So that's my answer. All based on personal anecdotal data.
Why do you choose the word intimidating?
I choose the word intimidating because I think that in my personal experience in life that I think men want to be more successful than their mate.
Right, but what I mean to say is when
it's not that they're intimidated by it. I think it's just that it's not. That's probably the wrong word. It's just it's about a respect thing. I think it's like, it's hard to explain. I think it's more, will I be respected in this relationship? Like I literally had guys say before we've even gotten to know each other, even in just the talking stage, first 10, back and forth messages. I like to be in control in the bedroom if they even sniff out that I have had success. Like, they want to be very clear that they want to take the lead in the relationship. And usually it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with their own personal experience with masculine women.
So that would
So
be him indicating their standards, right?
their standards, their experience, their past, their wounds, whatever it
Right,
is.
but those are coming out in a standard,
Yeah.
right? Those
Exactly, a boundary.
experiences have accumulated in a boundary or standard, and they're communicating that to you. I don't. So when you say, like, I'm glad you walked back the word intimidated, because when someone says that a man was intimidated by a woman, there's a natural element of shame to that, right? There's a shaming of this
Right.
man for having a standard, right? You yourself have the standard that's creating this perception of intimidation. That's your standard. And so your standard and his standard are clashing. They're clashing, and there's not a compatibility, right? So typically somebody has to give in, but by guys' nature, when guys tend to give in a lot, they tend to lose a lot. Not just in this particular scenario, but amongst other guys,
Right.
competing for the next job, for promotion, right? If you give in and people see that you're a give-in person, you just get less. And guys have learned that lesson the hard way all through their life. And so they're going to communicate their standards, and you just got to look at the guy and say, is this a standard I'm willing to follow? And if
Well,
it
Dante
is,
knows all about this for me. I don't even know how to say it anymore, because so often it's such a roadblock or a boundary for a lot of guys. I'm finding that I just kind of have to, like, hide it or dumb it down as a woman in today's society, that I feel like I just have to kind of,
well, would you
hide
say
success.
you're saying it's a roadblock for the guy? I'm saying it's a roadblock for you. If you want this
It's
guy,
become, I think it's become a roadblock for me, for sure. Yeah. I feel
yeah.
like I feel like I worry that I'm going to scare somebody away.
So
Yeah.
if you were talking to a guy, you're interested, right? They at least presenting that they check all the boxes for you, right? Of course, as you talk to them, that may change, but they're checking the box, and you're saying, "Hey, you check all the boxes. Now I'm unwilling to check your boxes. Let you check your boxes with me. Like, no, you have to change everything about you so that I fit." Like, that's just not how guys work. Like, guys want to know that they can be the person, right? If they're not needed,
It would be really,
they're not
it's,
valued.
yeah, it's disjointed. I don't typically meet guys that would check all my boxes.
Okay,
Right,
well,
and
guys that potentially will. Go ahead.
I think that a lot of, again, going back to the sexual marketplace value, I think that a lot of value that women have is in their looks primarily, followed closely by, how submissive, how feminine are they, and how great of a mom are they going to be. That's my understanding.
Right.
And I've had plenty of different partners, very old, some, around my age, who, as I've tried to increase my value as a man and do the things that are going to be healthy for me to embrace my masculinity and be more valuable as a person into society, at different stages, I've had very wealthy women supporting me and women who are, my age supporting me. But under no circumstances was the conversation I had with them like, this is going to be a forever thing. And, it's understood that I'm going to take the place financially. Like, that's where we're moving to. I don't want you to provide for me. I want to provide for you. And all of the girlfriends, like, people I've been with, it's, I don't know one that was like, I want to provide for you. Like, all of them wanted me and want me to provide for them. But the thing is from my understanding, and I definitely want to hear from Mike and Sam and Dan, building on this, when you go for a career based on what I've seen in my understanding, and you prioritize a high career path, as the years go on, you're becoming less and less physically attractive. And that's one of the biggest things that we value. So then while you're doing that, you're becoming more independent, you're becoming more wealthy. So then at a certain point, it's like your ability to attract a certain guy dwindles, because that guy, why wouldn't he just pick someone who is younger, who he can provide for, that, that it's hard to be that person. That's my understanding of it, at least.
What's
do
the
you want
question
to?
again?
So the question is, does getting a degree, having high income, hurt a woman's chance to attract a high value guy?
Yeah, I think Laura, you may be misinterpreting. I don't think that they're not wanting to date you because you're successful. I think the only reason why they may not want to date you is because of the situation where it's like, am I going to get what I want out of this relationship? I have never met a woman in my life. I went on a date the other day, or not the other day, it was when I was single. But the girl had a PhD in astrophysics. At no point did I was like, man, this girl is really fucking hot. But that PhD in astrophysics, I'm intimidated now. Like, that's just not a thing that we experience. I know men who, like, they'll marry a woman and she comes from a rich family. At no point we're like, man, look at all those millions. That's really going to hurt my like my penis won't get hard now. Like, I just don't think that's a real thing. I just don't think it's a real thing. What'll happen is if it's a situation where it's like, she's the CEO of the company, and while we're having discussions, I'm constantly being told how much more successful she is than me, then it's very similar to a man who meets a woman at a bar and starts bragging about how much money he has. I think that may be a turnoff, but like the idea that we wouldn't be with a woman because she's successful, I don't know any guys who do that. I've never seen it. What I've seen is women who are successful, and then therefore that transmutes into them being like very unagreeable in a relationship because she has a personal assistant and has a business where she makes a bunch of money because she runs like 5 nail salons. Then she wants to then tell her husband what to do as well. That is the reason why he may not want to be with her, as opposed to her actually having a viable financial business. And then finally, it's like, I want to spend time with my girlfriend, but she spends 80 hours a week working. I'm sorry. That's also not tenable for me in a relationship. So that might also be a reason, but I don't think a woman's success individually, if I met a girl who was like a female tennis player and she was fantastically attractive, I would not date her because she was a female tennis player. I can't even think how that would weigh into my mind even 1%.
So, and building on this, as we go to Sam next, this kind of ties into the whole Jonah Hill thing. I don't know if all of you guys are familiar with this, but Jonah Hill was dating a surfer, and he basically sent this text of saying like, hey, I want you to stop, meeting with all these different guys and doing all these things, and just basically like hang out with me. So where's the, how do you guys feel about that?
I mean, you have to provide a kind of ton of context. The issue wasn't that. Like the issue was, she released private text messages Sarah Brady released private text messages between her and Jonah Hill right after Jonah Hill had a baby with another woman, after Jonah Hill, like years after Jonah Hill had broken up with Sarah Brady. And Sarah Brady was like, as soon as, he's now happy, has a baby with someone else, Sarah Brady wants to rain on his happiness by showing these messages that apparently show that Jonah Hill was controlling, but they don't show he was controlling. What they show is that he had standards in the relationship, and he said things to her like, this is horrible. Ladies, like, you might want to hold your ears. This is so horrible. He says, if these are things that that make you happy, then I support it. That's what he said. But then maybe we shouldn't be in a relationship together. He actually writes that. He goes, if these are things, so she wanted to like go out, take pictures of herself in a bikini, and people are like, well, she's a surfer. She surfs in a bikini. No, she doesn't. She doesn't surf in the competitive surfers do not surf in a bikini. So she was doing things specifically for attention. I don't mind if someone is out there. Like, my girlfriend's a world champion bikini model. If she takes pictures in a bikini, I don't mind, because that was an agreement we had when we first started dating. But like, he didn't have that agreement with her. And then she starts doing these things where she's taking pictures with other guys, like getting really close and nuzzly with them. And it's very clear from her Instagram, she was open for business and he wasn't. And so from that standpoint, he was like, hey, I would appreciate if you would stop doing this if you want to be in a relationship with us. But if these are things that make you happy, I support it. I think you're an amazing woman and you're incredibly talented, but we might not be right together. That's what he wrote her. He didn't call her a dumb bitch. He didn't tell her to get the fuck out of his life. He said, if these are things that make you happy, I support them. And people said he was controlling. I mean, not only was he not controlling, people keep looking past the fact that these private text messages were released after he had a baby with someone else, like beyond the most horrific. Like, she, not only that, all these virtue signaling therapists start making posts on TikTok saying how, oh, this isn't boundaries, this is controlling behavior. And I'm like, now you've ruined therapy. because there's other therapists that are going to look up to these therapists who have gone viral and be like, oh, is this the stuff that I have to say? If a man says, hey, I don't appreciate it if another dude puts his hand, like when your ex-boyfriend comes and hugs you and kisses you on the cheek, that makes me feel uncomfortable. That's not insecure. A man has the fucking right to say that. Ladies, if you have any issue with that, let me know now, because like you're just wrong. A man you're dating has the right to say, if someone who you've been intimate with comes up and puts his hands around you and kisses you, that makes me feel uncomfortable, and I prefer for you to not do that. That is not insecure. That is normal behavior for a man.
No, it's totally normal.
Yeah, but that's the problem. It's like therapists are now saying, no, that's not normal, because what you're doing is, instead of you saying how you feel about it, you're trying to control the woman. No, I'm not trying to control her. She has every right to leave. And by the way, she did leave, or he left her and then he found someone else. And this is where it gets even crazier. 6 months after they break up, he writes her another message stating, hey, I just want you to know I'm seeing someone else. And Sarah Brady's like, oh, well, I should tell her that you were just messaging me a couple of months ago and we were together like 6 months ago. Hey, got news for you, ladies. If you and I break up, 6 months later, I'm going to be sleeping with someone else. That doesn't make me weird. That doesn't make me toxic. We broke up. I'm going to see other people. And so I just thought this whole thing was just one of the biggest, God, it was the biggest kerfuffle I've ever seen. And what made me mad, like Jonah Hill's 100% in the right. Anyone who doesn't think Jonah Hill's in the right, I'll debate you and embarrass you if you want. But
well, what's not normal is the fact that we know all of this, like
Yes.
that these text messages were released that, and I don't remember I kind of passively paid attention, but I didn't even know he had a baby with another woman and that he was in a different relationship. It was presented all like they were just a couple right now, and this just broke up.
Laura, because that destroys the narrative. Because Laura, that destroys the narrative. The narrative is, like you said, they just broke up because he was controlling, not that he broke up with her because she was not acting within the bounds of the relationship, had moved on to someone else, and then she released these text messages and trying to take them out of context. And one of the worst parts about it is, like, after he has a baby, she writes on her IG story, I hope God gives him a girl. Like, we're broken up and now you're going to talk about my fucking children? Sarah Brady is worst person of the year. She wins that award. And the fact that anyone supported her is one of the most sickening things that I've ever seen.
And it seems like he'd be a great dad. Like all the things.
Yeah, someone wrote me after. So I go on this long tirade, like 27 minutes on my show. And then afterwards I get this message from this one girl. It's like, I hope you end up having, I hope your daughter meets a man like this. A man like this, who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars and wants to be faithful to my daughter and ask my daughter to not act like a hoe on social media. Oh no, I hope my daughter never meets a man like this. What a fucking punishment. How terrible that would be. I hope to God my daughter would date Jonah Hill. You think I would have a problem with that? You're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah. It cracks me up when people have interesting boundaries for certain things and not other things. I recently went on a date with a guy, and he wanted to split the tab. Love that, and then he, of course, is, trying to get in your pants, and he had a 14-year-old daughter, and I made the mistake of saying, I hope that when she starts dating, that guys treat her like a queen and that they definitely pick up the tab for her. And he's like, oh, they better. And I can't even imagine her dating. And there's no way that they're not going to pick up the check. And I was like, I looked at him like, are you kidding me right now? And he was highly offended. So
people are ridiculously delusional and so devoid of people don't think before they speak anymore. It's just like they follow the narrative. Like, people are picking up those tweets and like, oh my God, Jonah Hill's so toxic. And it's just like following this, like squawking the same talking points of everyone else. And just nobody thinks before they speak anymore. Like, he could have just sat and ingested what you said and been like, oh shit, I just made her split the bill. And look at me. Now I'm a hypocrite.
I know. Well, and then there's that's a whole other thing about the culture. When you talk about, masculinity and femininity, I never know how to handle those situations. So
shit, I'm a hypocrite. I have an OnlyFans, and I just I don't really respect anyone who uses that as a lifestyle. I mean, but I have an OnlyFans, but I'm getting out of it. So like I have a plan. I started it for a reason and I'm ending it, and there's a whole reason why. But anyway, like I just, people aren't even aware of that, like how I just said that, like, yeah, I might be a hypocrite in some ways. Like some people just don't think, they don't perceive themselves from a third person. Like this is what I'm looking like right now.
Great points. Staying on topic, Sam, do you think that a woman with a, degree and a high paying, high income career is it harder for her to attract a high value man, or do you think that it helps? Does it hurt or does it help?
It's a question that is interesting because it's a new topic, right? So I'm dating a lawyer, I'm dating a girl that is a barista, I'm dating a girl that doesn't have a job. So it really like, it does not matter. Now, is there certain characteristic traits that are portrayed through different professions? Absolutely. Is the lawyer more argumentative? Absolutely. Right. That's for a fact than the barista girl. Right. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be like, oh no, I'm not going to date her because of these factors. It all comes to me. It's more character and then your attractiveness and who you are as a person. So if she has a well-paying job, fantastic. If she doesn't, fantastic. There's no actual like, I don't have even an emotional response. Would I like a girl that has some sort of life skills that may be coming from a job? Absolutely. But there's girls that I've dated that have come from a family, they've grown up on a farm, and that's her job, and she's been a farmhand. She didn't need a job, and she was also fantastic. So for me, personally, I just want them to have a little bit of life skills. Not that I have to be a dad or a coach to them, but I do coach them in certain other factors. So at the end of the day, it's so marginal that it doesn't really matter. But for some people, it does.
Again. Beautiful. And Dan, how about you?
I think yeah, I think it's been covered. Like I don't really have anything to add that's going to give any value on that subject.
Beautiful. So moving to the next topic. Sorry, one sec. So monogamy, the going back to taking an evolutionary standpoint of like how men and women are hardwired, do you think that monogamy is healthy? And some stats to kind of break open this conversation, which is what I was recalling from my notes because I have a billion notes for business and all sorts of things. The stats for how many actual people, marriages end in divorce because of cheating is 60% of divorced couples cite infidelity as a reason for their divorce. If we look at how men are hardwired, evolutionarily speaking, we want to have as much sex as possible. We want variety. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't love the person that we're with. We can have sex and have it be completely unemotional. Based on research and personal experience, what I've seen is that typically when women cheat, it's not because they want variety, it's because the relationship is over, because that person, maybe they're mistreated them too many times, or they've lost, status or value, whatever the reason, they now decide to end the relationship by cheating, by leaving. Whether that's healthy or not, that's a completely different, conversation. But women typically do it for different reasons, and they get more emotional about sex. Whereas guys, we can have sex and literally not care at all, have it no impact. So if we look at it from that standpoint, evolutionarily speaking, is monogamy healthy for guys as a concept when it literally, from a way of looking at it, shames guys for cheating, aka having sex, wanting to act on those primal evolutionary desires to have variety, do you think that's healthy to shame that, to suppress that? Or do you think it's much healthier to have something like an open, closed relationship where the man can go off and have sex with different women and the woman shouldn't have sex with different guys? She's not allowed to have sex with different guys. Do you think monogamy is healthy for guys when so many marriages end in divorce because of cheating? 60% of the divorces end in cheating, or because of infidelity, excuse me. And what percentage of that is guys? That's kind of a different metric, but a lot of them end because of cheating. So do you think monogamy is healthy, or do you think a different model being promoted as the new alternative would be healthier? I want to start with Laura and then we'll go around.
I'm still a fan of monogamy. I think I have traditional values there.
You're muted, by the way, Mike, if you're inputting.
This is Laura. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Laura. I think you was talking to somebody else. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I said I'm still a fan of monogamy, traditionally speaking. I think it can still work. My group.
We lost. I think
you're cutting out a bit, Laura.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. You're good.
Okay. From my understanding, successful marriages and that were, as I understood it to be, healthy, and that were traditional in the sense that they did have stay-at-home wives or wives that had maybe, sort of like light, like duty careers, maybe like volunteer in the schools or helped at school, things like that. So not a lot of career. But I think the idea was, those feminine values were a big factor, very more submissive type of a role. Not that these weren't strong women by any means, but that they were not, strong by today's standards of being like the boss bitch, as the stereotypes that you see today. And I think that there was a lot to be said about what I observed of monogamy, femininity.
Sorry to cut you off. Just because we've been going so long.
That's it. That's what I'm going to say.
Go short. Let me rephrase the question. Do you think monogamy is healthy for men?
Oh, I think it can be in a relationship where
no. In general, for most men, do you think monogamy is healthy for men or not?
Yes, with an asterisk.
So generally speaking, for most men, you think monogamy is healthy. And I'm not trying to like ambush you. I'm just genuinely trying to get like the majority of men.
I mean,
that idea, that concept, that model is healthy
for married men.
Just men in general. And committed in monogamy, monogamy is a committed relationship. So do you think monogamy is healthy for men? For the men that are participating in monogamous relationships, do you think that is a healthy model for men to follow?
It's so hard to say yes or no for me, because it all depends on their mate.
Undecided then.
Undecided.
Beautiful. Okay. Natalia, same question for you. Do you think monogamy as a model is healthy for men? Yay or nay?
Not for the uninvolved man.
Not for the uninvolved man? Is that what you said?
Not for the uninvolved man. So not for a man who doesn't understand his own biology. No. Because then they're putting themselves into a construct that they don't fully understand, nor they don't want to be in. But they find out they don't want to be in monogamy after they're already in it.
Good. And Sylvia, again, please keep your answers short. Do you think monogamy as a model is healthy for men?
No. And if we're going on the basis of men are biologically rulers, then you should be allowing the men to answer these questions first. But
But
Yes,
you think that monogamy is
monogamy is healthy for a man. Yes.
good. Awesome.
You cut out, Dante.
Sorry about that. Let's go to Dan because Mike is eating some food. What do you think about the model of monogamy? Do you think it's healthy for men, or do you think that it is unhealthy for men?
I think it's irrelevant. I think that guys, as their options increase, their likelihood of doing more will increase also. So, having the mindset of when you're in fourth place of accepting fourth place prizes is an excellent way to be if you don't think you can get up to first place, right? So if you want to be happy at this spot, right? So if a female wants monogamy, she generally has to go lower down the value totem pole, right? To find a guy that's happy with Lucky Charms forever, right? Because Lucky Charms is better than nothing. And so, which it is, right? Ask any starving person, would they want a bowl of Lucky Charms? Of course they would, right? So if you're asking people with options to go against their natural biology of when you have options, you spread your seed, right? That's been the case throughout human history. Every guy that has been full of mad options, they go out and they do that thing, right? So yeah, it's wholly dependent upon where you're at and what your cycle out. Like for a person that commonly finishes in 26th place, for them to feel like they're trash, that's not very healthy, right? Either they gotta, if they're on the road to get to top 3, okay, but not most guys are not on that road, and so they just gotta acknowledge where they're at, right? I'm in 26. Monogamy is probably healthy for me because losing this, I might not be able to replace it, and that's it. So
awesome, good answer. Sam, what do you think about that question?
It used to be for like the evolution of humans. That's someone that other than your Genghis Khan gets to reproduce as many children as ever, and then they start to interbreed and stuff like that. So at least the low caste guy would at least get a girl and at least populate and at least have someone to be able to mate with Genghis Khan's children and not be Down syndrome or semi-retarded or anything like that. So I think it was, but now in today's society, because there is a plethora of different people, that it doesn't serve at all. I think it's actually a huge detriment, and it's like a population control at the moment.
Gotcha. So, and now let me clarify a little bit. So under the context of, okay, I'm committing to one woman the majority of my time, energy, and resources. She's, we're living together, we have kids together, and once every few months, 6 months, whatever the number, the ratio is, if I see a woman and I want to go sleep with that woman, is it healthy for that man in that committed relationship to then have to like suppress that urge to stuff that down and go, no, it's my only woman? Or do you think that it would be healthier for him to be able to sleep with that woman without, as long as you don't bring STDs into the your relationship with your committed woman, as long as you don't have kids with that person? Do you think that that's healthy for that man to be able to have that option, whether he decides to act on it or not, like whatever, but just having the choice, the freedom to do that or not? Do you think that's healthy, or to strip that decision away when we're evolutionarily hardwired to be that way, to want variety? What do you think is more healthy?
For me, it looks like Sylvia's trying to jump in. She's very, oh no, all right, I think because what if I teach? I'm teaching guys to become the best versions of very, very high status males, and from that they get options from there. So from there they really have to. Well, their majority of the high earn like wealthy clients that I have are in a relationship where the boundaries of that is that they can stray, and that's fine. The women can't, and the women are very happy. Because I've interviewed them, I've talked to them, they're very happy about that. And they find it's actually better because the majority of the time he releases what he has to release, the bent up things. And then as a byproduct, he's not only treating her better, but the relationship is healthier. So if their relationships are working, yet the common man's relationships aren't, that's got that's what you see. And maybe my opinion's skewed and my perception skewed based on the people I interact with. But when you can see, like, I just had a friend I ran into yesterday, and he was in the same year as me in high school. Amazing dude. He was like he was the jock, right? He got married last year, and got divorced 2.5 months later. And I'm looking at the dude, and he's just like a shell of what he used to be. And I'm like, because he's obviously devoted to this. And then she's already remarried, and that was like 3 months later. She's remarried, so she's engaged now. And I'm like, man. And so I'm looking at my clients that are very happy. Their relationships are very happy. They're, on the up and up and up. Their businesses are going well. Their life is going well, and they're able to do this. It's a quite a very disparity, like a division between the two. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. It's good that you're at least discussing this topic, which is great.
Great answer, man. And building on what Natalia said, because it was like a trigger word, right? Like evolved man. I've been posting content about this recently on TikTok to the anger of many. And one of the things I keep hearing, a common theme from guys and girls, is that, this desire as men, this evolutionary desire to want variety is, primitive, devolved, it's hedonistic, and it's giving in to short-term gratification instead of, doing the right thing and getting one woman, having a family with that woman, and just staying loyal. But my argument I've been making is that, well, if we're going off of that, and we like equality, and a lot of women, if you ask them, do you think equality is good for the sexes, they would tend to agree. If we're going off of equality, wouldn't it be fair if we're doing that as men, for all the supermodels and super attractive women and just women in general of the world, to go choose the really overweight 300-pound guy working at GameStop who has no goals, who isn't ambitious, he's cowardly. If someone breaks into the house, he's probably not going to defend. He's going to run away. He just plays video games all day, doesn't have goals, doesn't take care of himself. And to choose that man, to delay your short-term gratification of just going out and just choosing the amazing man who is charismatic, high earner, a leader of men, super fun to be around, great communicator, emotionally intelligent, all these things that women tend to say that they want. 6 foot tall, of course. Why not delay the instant gratification of just getting that guy and getting GameStop guy and then growing with him and helping him become a high value man, helping him become a good man? Wouldn't that be a fair argument if as men, we're kind of coerced into the model of monogamy because we're devolved primitive beings that can't control themselves? Wouldn't, on the flip side of the coin, having women just choose fat GameStop employees with no ambition and helping them develop these qualities, wouldn't that be the fair thing on the other side? Because that's asking women to suppress their evolutionary desire to just choose the best mate. Why are women able to have standards and to say that it's okay for my desire to be here, but as a man, you can't have variety. You gotta, get in your place. You gotta stay loyal. And if you cheat, aka honor your evolutionary desire, nature, and instinct as a man to be a man, I'm going to divorce you and wreck our home, traumatize our children if we have children, take half your shit if you don't have a prenup, make you pay me money for the rest of our life because you were a man. Is that a healthy model for society? I'm not saying that you can't be committed and just the choice is all I'm talking about. That's my point. Should the choice be taken away from man, or should we honor men by giving them that choice? And now I'll move the talking stick over to Mike. You're muted, by the way, still.
You want me to answer?
Yeah, please.
Okay. In general, societies that have encouraged monogamy have less violence because the men in the lower quartile don't end up becoming criminals. It's just you're just far less likely to commit crimes, violent crimes. You'll commit other crimes, but violent crimes, if you have a mortgage, that's one of the also the advantages of consumerism is if you have a government that encourages consumerism and people go into debt, they're far less likely to become revolutionaries and commit violent crime when they have 2 children at home and they're married. So marriage causes this lower quartile of men to just be less violent. So from a societal standpoint, encouraged monogamy does work and it is helpful. The reason why the question overall is moot is because it's like asking, should all men be billionaires? Well, most men can't become billionaires. And most men, monogamy is a good thing because mono means one, and most men can't get one. So having sex with one woman is great, right? They can at least do that. And then the other thing is, let's just say you made monogamy enforced and it was illegal for men to sleep with multiple women, the men at the top would still sleep with multiple women. In fact, the men who literally passed the law stating you can't have sex with multiple women would be the ones sleeping with multiple women, because that's just the way society works. So the question is moot. Here's how it was before I was born, and here's how it will be after I die. There will be a great number of men, somewhere between a quarter and a third, that have little to no sexual options whatsoever. A middle portion of men who have a combination of 1 or 2 or 4 sexual options, maybe combined with a weekend trip to Medellin with some prostitutes. And then a group of men at the top who have a large group of sexual partners, maybe 30, 40, and then some men at the top who are in like the hundreds. That's how it's always going to be. That's how it'll be long after I'm dead. And no legislature will stop that. That's how it is in Iran. That's how it is in Mexico. That's how it is in the United States. That's how it is in every country. You're just going to have men at the top with a lot of options, which, by the way, certainly leads to a great number of men at the bottom with none. Listen, I'm at Bilzerian's party sometimes, and it's 1,700 girls and 400 guys. And when you're at those parties, you just come to the realization that like any of these women would have sex with Machine Gun Kelly, Logan Paul, Dan Bilzerian, like number of all that are like athletes and celebrities that are there. And if that's the case, then there's a group of men that like, if you ever go to his parties, they have shotguns and water hoses to keep the men out. Their boyfriends are all, dude, they don't throw the parties on this house anymore, but it used to be at Shalon Road in Bel Air, and up and down the road there were guys with water hoses and shotguns keeping the boyfriends from going in the party, where all of the girls were there. I mean, I'm serious. I walked in with 50 girls. It was crazy when you're in there. But when you see like some men have that level of abundance and you just do some math, you're like, that means there's a whole lot of cashiers at Chick-fil-A and shelf stalkers at Walmart that are getting no women at all. So the question about monogamy is, it's always just going to end up where it ends up. Marriage is a way to encourage it, not necessarily enforce it, but encourage monogamy. And then, in the end, what you're going to have is a lot of men at the top being like, especially like, there'll literally be U.S. senators being like, we need to enforce the family, get back to the nuclear family, and then they'll cheat on their wife. So that's just the way the world works.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I didn't realize that the monogamy thing has been proven to be helpful for society. Do you think most men would enjoy the option to, if he wanted variety, that it's on the table? And do you think that do you also think that most men should try to increase their value so that they have options and can even have this conversation, but then also to negotiate that so that if it so happens that they meet somebody or whatever and just want to get it out of their system, that they can without endangering their family and the resources?
There's just two different types of men. Like a man who makes over, like, top 10% of wage earners in the United States, I think, is $170,000 a year. They just like literally a man who makes over $170,000 a year, who's over 6 feet tall and is good looking. His options with women are just, they're not a little bit more. They're 2 orders of magnitude more. 80% of men on Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge are deemed unattractive by women. The top 20% of right swipes, the top 20% of men on Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge get 83% of the right swipes. Like, there's 2 species of men now. There is a successful, high status species of man that women date and then complain about because they have too many women and too many options. And then there's the rest of men that women don't even see. They don't even notice that. And I'm serious. Like, I've done this before where me and my girlfriend will go to like Jack in the Box or whatever in the middle of the night. And then afterwards we'll drive off and I'll be like, describe the cashier. And they don't remember a fucking thing because it was a man who was low status. He's a piece of furniture to most women. He doesn't matter. They just don't notice these men at all. But a guy in a Ferrari, I guarantee you she remembers that he had blue eyes. I promise you she does. Because that's the way it works. Most women, it's not that women are even like disregarding these men or like they're not dissing these men. They don't even notice these men exist. Like, literally, they're not even acknowledging that the Filipino who's 5'5", who's their cashier at Walmart, that he's unattractive. They're not even acknowledging he's unattractive. They don't recognize he exists. That's how it is for most women. And so that's the reason why when you ask the question about monogamy, most men don't even get monogamy. right? They get celibacy. So that's the issue that's going on. So I would just like to, I just like to welcome the robots that our grandchildren will be fucking here in 70 years. I just like to welcome don't kill me.
Fembot 2000.
I want to be the first to welcome our robot overlords. Welcome.
Beautiful. Okay, real quick.
So it is the digital era that changed it all, because when I got my first husband I met through a personal ad, and that traditionally would never in today's society have dated. He was extremely overweight and traditionally unattractive and had nothing going for him. But charismatically liked him, looked like Chris Farley, and helped him level up, helped him lose weight, helped him do all of those things, to only end up divorced, right? And then second guy, 9 years younger, very attractive, traditional, great looks, helped him level up, left me for somebody younger. So it's so much of what you're saying. Options are what guys want. Once they have options, they take options. In both cases, they left for younger options.
Would you agree that that's also on the flip side? I mean, don't lots of women who are high value also leave men? And I think that opens up
right. And I date younger guys for options. I date a lot of younger guys now, and successful guys, and usually guys that are attracted to me are married. So when you talk about monogamy, it's true. I mean, guys are looking for options. A lot of married guys are, trying to go out. And so it's an interesting question for sure.
So we've been running for a while. I want to start to go to closeout. So Sylvia, if you want to add, anybody else want to add on this topic of monogamy? And then the last topic that I want to hit in real quick is for the men, and that is how to become a high value man. But before we get into that, Sylvia, and then anybody else who wants to chime in on the topic of, is monogamy healthy or not?
I think monogamy is very healthy. I think that what we need to really consider is how societal norms have changed. And you're right. In biology, if we want to hit biology, what I see is a major a rock that is hitting a lot of these topics on the men's point of view, is that you want to say, well, biologically, I'm supposed to impregnate and spread my seed. So how is it healthy for me to be with one woman? So then I challenge you to look into Native American society norms, because today they're protected by federal law and they are still practiced. And one example is in the northern, Dakota area. You have where in their societal norms, men can have other wives, but that's not unless their wife approves. Now, to talk about how women have different obligations, different expectations, that will always be true, regardless of the AI, regardless of the trans movement, regardless of all of that. There will always be this innate expectation of motherly whatever in our society. So I would say if you look at those, one example is if a man brings another woman into the relationship, the wife has to be okay with that. Monogamy is great. And if a man can't, and okay, so let me get to the point. I apologize. I have a hard time, so excuse me for taking too much time. I'm going to make this very short and simple. Okay. In that tribe, in the tribe I'm thinking of, if a man brings another woman into the relationship and the wife is aware of it because of honesty and integrity and talking to her and bringing this wife into this family, whatever, that's okay. In a matter of fact, they have different homes for their different wives. Okay. However, if the man does not do that and does not include the wife in that decision, and he's cheating, she literally, federal law cannot disprove this. You can look it up on your own time. She can literally cut his dick off because he cheated. It is their law, and federal government cannot dispute it because it's like a different country, right? Even though it's in America. Now, if a woman in that same tribe sleeps with a man without her husband's consent, she gets her nose chopped off so that everywhere she goes, everybody knows she's a cheater. And the government on our end, United States government, can't step into that. So we look at different cultural beliefs, different ways that things go, right? Like what's okay for you may not be okay for that tribal belief or whatever. It's what you're raised to
Right. And now you're speaking to a culture rather than where I want to keep the debate is evolutionarily speaking, right? So like I don't really give a shit about, like, I'm not here to shame women for the standards that they want. I'm not here to say that, well, as men, like you guys should just date us. Like, that's not where I'm coming from. I'm just coming purely for, like, a lot of the stuff that I've researched and done were because I had problems, right? So like looking at trauma, inner child healing, like I had problems dealing with my emotions. I needed to get help for that. And one of the things that I've seen is a pattern is that, like, I'll be dating a girl multiple years, totally in love with her, totally happy with our life. But then I'll meet somebody and I just want to have sex with her. I don't want to have a life with her. I don't want to date her. I just want to have sex with her. And the fact that then comes up as like, oh, the whole relationship, and then, projecting it forward as I get older, if I decide to get married, the whole marriage, applying that same thing, is going to be ruined because of that. Whereas as a woman, evolutionarily speaking, you're not designed or rewarded for having multiple sex with different people. Like, that's not in your imperative. It's your imperative to select the best candidate. And then if that guy, your best candidate, if before you get with him, he has all this female attention, that makes him more valuable. That actually increases his status. Whereas the opposite effect, if you flipped it around for the woman having lots of male attention, that would lower her status. So then if you are in a committed relationship and he has lots of options and he is free to have sex with different women, and you make that the model instead of monogamy, because monogamy essentially is stripping pre-selection. It's essentially stripping a way to keep pumping your guy's status and make him more fucking awesome to you, make you more sexually attracted to him because he's with all these different women. You're seeing that from a biological standpoint. You are getting more aroused. You are getting more attracted to that person.
But we have what's called brains. So unlike primates, unlike sponges in the ocean.
Do we have brains?
Unlike sponges in the ocean, we have what's called a conscious. We have what's called decision making. We have a brain, and through these years of evolution, our brain has evoluted. So when you come to say, oh, well, it's just in us to have sex. Well, it's just in the woman to get the bigger piece of chicken, buddy.
Yeah,
so
I agree. I agree. I'm not against that. I am in a total agreement with you.
You go out and just fulfill your sperm count and fill the world with your seed, and what makes you more valuable to do that. And I question the fact that, if you're talking about evolution, then that changes and it adapts to cultural norms, and that's where we're evoluting.
You are right. But that change,
I have a question.
That change only occurs over the course of hundreds of thousands of years. I mean, I don't know exactly, but it's a shit ton of years. And to say that, well, because cultural, norms for different cultures are different, that doesn't change how we're wired biologically, though. Like, again, back to GameStop, McDonald's, GameStop Warrior.
Biologically, I'm saying,
hold on. You still don't want that guy. You're not. That's not your first choice. Like, that's not your conscience or your brain deciding that. That is your physiology, your evolution dictating that.
No, so, yes, it's not. Because listen to this, Dante. We have what's called thought. And not all animals have that. So you can't say, oh, I'm a monkey and I gotta fuck. Because some monkeys fuck their sisters.
We have data.
My sister's hot. I'm gonna fuck her because I'm attracted.
Okay, summarize what you're saying.
Question, Dante.
We can get everybody else's.
Oh, so in that construct, Dante,
Shoot.
how does it, so this other concept that we talked about earlier around female body count, how does that factor in? Who are the females that are providing the, who's satiating the males?
Well, a fraction of the better looking females, because those are sought after by the high value males, and so they get to choose, and they're going to choose only attractive females.
So only your looks decide your value as a woman versus a man who's only your money.
That's not the case.
To sleep around with, yes.
Ingredient.
Yes.
It's the first ingredient. It's so.
But they're raising their body count.
Yeah, but
they're not all raising their body count. Okay,
if it's not a high value woman,
hold on. We're not going to get anywhere if we keep interrupting. So
guys are sleeping with anybody, right? Yeah. So guys just start at the top and go down until they can satiate their lust in the moment, right? Or they go home and they can't, right? But let's make it clear. Okay, so first, back on Dante's point of the morality of monogamy, right? And that's irrelevant.
But the morality
so
is
you're wanting to make monogamy either morally correct or incorrect, right? And it's not the case. All that has to happen.
That's my goal. All I'm saying is I just want to highlight
what you were implying.
The dynamic.
It's what you were implying. But what I want to say is, as your value rises, if it were to rise and get to a certain level, then it in itself would take place because you would not accept anything else.
Right, options.
Right? Once you have options, then you don't care about losing one particular option. You don't have one itis. You're not focused on one thing. When you have options, then you automatically say what you want, right? When you go to the fridge, you decide what you want to eat, right? You don't eat the same thing as if when you go to the fridge, there's only one thing in the fridge, right? There's only crackers. You go to the fridge, you're like, I'm gonna have crackers, right? When there's 20 different things, you decide.
It's called basically like this. It goes back on, well, then if you guys are talking about how men have different options, well, guess what? You guys have been saying from the beginning, women, I could go out to a bar every night and probably fuck 5 people a night. I could probably fuck more. But a man can't do that. It doesn't matter how good looking you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You have to fight a little different to get that. But if you go off of the basis of belief that, well, that's just how men feel. Well, okay, so this is where I believe the ideas of like patience and kindness and grace get misconstrued. Why women think that it's so different. Like, why are we so afraid of that? Well, this is why. Because evolutionary, I want the man with the bigger piece of chicken, baby. I make $500,000 with my 500 men count. Who are you to tell me that I'm wrong? Because evolutionary, guess what? I'm getting the man with the bigger piece of chicken, and I don't care if you're Leonardo DiCaprio at 25. I'm just there for the money. And so these women that they're fucking, evolutionary or not, like your men want a double standard. And that's where the problem comes in, because women are like, wait a minute. But
no, we demand a double standard. We're not asking for it. The people who can have it are demanding it. There's no other option. There must be a double standard. You can talk to the lower value guys and put this on them, and they will accept it. Feel free. But the high value guys, they don't have people telling them what to accept. They tell the other people what to accept.
Because when I talk to my guy, and I believe he's in a high value.
Don't use one thing as an example of all things, and this is your relationship. It's not good to put a relationship out to be, to the exposure and censure of what might be said, right? Because in order to make the average true, we have to talk about statistics. And statistically speaking, that wouldn't be good, right? You don't want to apply the statistics, right? Every woman wants to believe that their relationship is the magic one.
No, it's not a magic one.
Well, you're geared for it. Well, you guys are together.
What I can say is, in a relationship, what makes it different? It's not magical. We have our problems, and you're right. Maybe I shouldn't use my
but you're together. You're together. That's the point.
But what's important to state is that as a couple, as a relationship in general, You have to have a standard. And as I said from the beginning, everybody values something different these days.
Mostly
There's
the same,
no
slightly different.
cultural sameness anywhere right now. And
No,
that's
we have
where the
no,
questions
that what
come up.
this is something that women constantly say, but we have data, and data says that you're wrong. There's slight differences that you conflate into the things that matter, and that's totally okay for you when you're
So
telling
data
the story.
says it's wrong that a monogamous relationship is
No,
beneficial
data
to
says
the man.
that mostly people are the same. That's all data says. That's
Right,
why there's
but
large portions of people doing the same thing.
cultural norms, which means the culture shifted, which means our reality of 1920 is different from our reality of 2023. So now the
No,
freedom
it's the
and
same.
the women who, we don't have the pressures that we had back in the day because we are free, right? So we have to take into cultural norms. We have to take into the problems we have today. That's important. But if we base it on biology, yes, like there is a double standard to the fact that a man can sleep with 20 women and a woman will still look up to him like, oh my God, like he's very attractive because he can get this. Like, yeah, we literally have hormones that make us more attracted to different people. But I say if you look at back in the history, because we are looking at biology, back in the history as our brains grew, if you go off of this monkey interpretation, our brains grow, our options change. The one thing that's constant, though, is the need for companionship. Now, your companionship has changed over time. And during the olden days, men would get in together and they would talk about their experiences. And this is how you please your wife. This is how you do things. And biologically, when you have kings and queens ruling the world, those kings and queens get a different lifestyle. Because guess what? Honestly, if you're with a guy who makes $20 million a year, you have a certain lifestyle you're willing to convert yourself
What
to.
are you saying? I'm not following where this is going.
A year. So let's talk about statistically the average. We're not talking about millionaires, are we? So take the millionaires.
No, but let's talk about some millionaires. Okay. Jennifer Aniston, Shakira, Beyonce, some of the most beautiful women in the world have Angelina Jolie. All of them have been cheated on. These are successful, gorgeous, arguably, most incredible women in the world. All been cheated on. Yep. None of us have paid really much attention to those relationships, what happened there. We all just know that they moved on and they were cheated on. But we all have paid in granular detail as to what happened with Will Smith and his wife, right? And we all know that she cheated on him and they put it on blast, and he, everybody has an opinion, but the common majority seems to think that the hit that went around the world on stage was all about him trying to redeem his manhood.
Well, hold on,
right?
Because it feels like this is two different topics. Not that that's not a good topic, because I think that's a great conversation. However,
yeah, but when we talk about cheating, is all
and
monogamy.
What you first led with is really good, which is even at the very top of men and women, such as Beyonce, Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce, and she made a whole bunch of songs about, I'm irreplaceable and da 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 da. But the fact remains that she stayed with Jay-Z. Because high value men at the top are in scarce demand. There's less of them than there are beautiful women. So what I'm saying is that, look, for guys and ladies and gentlemen, it's in our nature as men to want variety. And when you're at the top, you're going to have variety. You're going to just cheat, or you're just going to create, you're going to negotiate. Hold on. You're going to negotiate those parameters in your relationship so that variety, your evolutionary desire, is honored, is acceptable, is okay. And I'm just saying, as men, what's the benefit for each, right? Men and women. As men, we get to then honor our nature, have that sex that we want to have, and then commit to you, and then come back, as Sam mentioned earlier, come back, get it out of our system, and then like feel even better, feel even more.
But you don't want your
man,
woman to cheat,
right?
Correct?
Hold on a second. Let me finish my point, and then
Right.
I'm in.
Yeah. Yes.
We come back, we feel great, got that out of our system, satisfied, and then go back to our woman who we deeply love, care about, and have great sex with her, care for our family, keep hold on, keep having, keep making more resources, keep making ourselves more valuable. A relationship that I can have as much sex as I want, as long as I don't bring STDs and have other kids with other women, versus one that I don't, I'm going to pick that one because I'm going to be happier, more satisfied, because my evolutionary desire is being satiated in that relationship. Now, that's what we get as men out of that. As women, your guy who's able to do that, why it might be in your benefit, here's the argument for that, is that you're going to become more attracted to that guy because he has options, especially if those options are other high quality women.
No, because
you're
you're talking
attracted
about
to that guy.
evolution.
You're
You
going to be
can't-
more
Is
attracted.
Michael
to him.
still on the call?
Bring in
Yeah, Michael's
evolution
on the
and
call.
say that your mind doesn't change and it doesn't count. Intelligence counts. Choice counts. So you can't say, "Oh, evolutionary, I gotta fuck to be happy," because in reality, that's not true.
I'm not saying that. Hold on.
Make...
I'm not saying that you need to just have fuck all the time with all these different women to be happy. I'm saying that is what, like, how many times when I was in my most serious relationship of 3 years, how many times did I did I cheat at the time? I cheated like twice. That's it. Couple times, hookup. Now, should I have cheated back then? No, I was super young guy. I don't cheat now. I'm honest about, this is what I want to do. We should break up now. These are the parameters. And I try to have that negotiation. Whether I get away with it because of my value, that's a different story. But the point is, it happened a couple times. So it's not like this rampant thing inside of me that's like, I gotta fuck everything. I'm foaming at the mouth. All I'm saying is it's healthier, I think, in my opinion and my understanding, for men to have that choice to just say yes. And why, as a woman, would you want to make your man closed off, just be monogamous to you, take away that pre-selection factor that's going to make you more attractive to him, and have him feel way more satisfied and happy because you're like irreplaceable. And especially, the lower you move in the option pool, the less women are going to grant that, because the guy has no value to even negotiate with. Grant that too. And if you were to allow your man to do that, you would then become irreplaceable. Your value would
communication. It's all about communication. It's all about, if you're upfront with all these things in a relationship to begin with, like, hey, this is my understanding on biology, and you speak on these things with the woman, your potential partner, there should be no reason why you can't do that. Exactly what you just said. And you're right, that she would be irreplaceable. She'd be wifey. She'd be your bottom bitch. And you'd always come home to mama.
Top.
I don't disagree with you.
Top bitch.
Top bitch.
Well, no, bottom bitch.
Bottom bitch. No, she'd be your bottom bitch.
Oh, is that
She'd
how
be
that
your bottom
goes?
bitch.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what
really?
I said. She'd be
That's
your
how
bottom
they say
bitch.
it?
Yeah.
And we want that. We want a stable environment where our kids will be taken care of and will be healthy and protected and grown and fed and everything else. And we don't want to endanger that. I mean, if you look across America 1,000 years ago, there were constant festivals where people went out and had lots of fun, right? And then they came home and they resumed their family life, right? That was very common. Like monogamy is an idea of today, and it's helpful for controlling the population, crime, but also the economy. It makes the economy very strong. So all you have to do is go back and look in history. Like, you can shake your head and all you want, but it just makes it seem like you're projecting onto the situation rather than looking at all the numbers, right? And that's okay. You get to do that, right? And probably you've grown, this way through time and entitlement because you're used to guys listening to whatever you have to say because you're attractive, and so they want to earn that time with you. But there's a certain swath of people that don't care, and they're just going to say what they want and do what they want. And it bears out throughout history. Look at all the societies of history. It's very common. It's very, 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 very common.
Get in here, Mike. What's up?
Oh yeah. So going back to the same thing we said before, none of us are dictators. We're not going to determine what's going to happen here. It's going to be a group of men at the top that are going to have a lot of options, and a group of men at the bottom that are not going to have very many options. And then we're going to look at this and say, is it so there's another thing that's kind of I think Sylvia may be misunderstanding, and maybe Dan didn't explain this. When we say something's evolutionary, doesn't mean it's right. Evolutionary, like for instance, evolutionarily, we used to sneak into other people's tribes and we would bash all the military age males' brains in and then rape all the women. We don't do that anymore. That's not right. So because something's evolutionarily, because it's evolutionary doesn't mean right, but it also doesn't mean that culture changes everything. Culture does change over a while, but the evolutionary imperatives of men from 100 years ago are exactly the same as they are today. The difference is what culture will allow. What culture did was allow women to have sex with more men and not feel guilty about it. But that didn't favor men. It favored men at the top, and then men at the bottom had fewer options. And that's essentially what's happened. And so you end up with a world with surplus men, and those surplus men, like for instance, 68% of college graduates are women, 5% of psychologists under the age of 30 are men, 5%. There are more female military pilots than there are male kindergarten teachers in the world right now. That we've overcorrected in a way to where women have, and I don't have a problem with it. Women have fantastic levels of options, but in the fact that they have options, we've gotten to a place where they're sitting there comparing themselves, or they're sitting there looking at a group of men who are not as educated as them, who are not as articulate as them, and they're like, we don't want these men. But man, I really would like this other guy who's flirting with me on Instagram, not realizing you're sharing him with 40 other dudes. That's the world that we've gotten to right now.
Sam, you want to chime in?
I can't top what Mike just said. I literally can't. It's on the money.
Beautiful.
100%.
So is Mike, are you polyamorous? Did you say earlier?
I'm polygynous. My girlfriend and I see women together. I don't do anything without her.
What does that mean?
Okay, that was what I was wondering. Okay.
Mike and his girlfriend don't do anything without each other. So I'm assuming they will sleep with other people, but together.
It's just
Okay.
women.
Other women.
Just girls.
We're polygynous. Yeah. Other men would be polyandrous. Other women is polygynous, and both men and women is polygynous.
Oh, so you're what some of the people would call unicorn hunters, where you go looking for another woman to sleep with.
Have you seen my girlfriend? We don't have to hunt for shit.
No, I know.
We don't have to do any hunting.
I understand.
Yeah.
But there's a whole community of people like feminists that are like, oh, they're unicorn hunting, and like she's just a throwaway girl. Which I mean, I've had thruples where I was me, my partner, and women, and another woman. But no, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And Dante, what do you think about that as the answer?
I don't disagree with Mike. All I'm saying is I think guys should try to to increase their value, and we're going to get to that in a second before we wrap. Increase your value so that you're able to have this negotiation, because from my standpoint, it's part of your nature. And anytime we suppress something that is who we are, it usually doesn't end well. It's not healthy. So try to get the bargaining power to negotiate this, because it's healthy for you to honor that part of yourself. And as women, I think it increases your value so much more to allow your guy, or to be okay with your guy. No worries, Pops. To be okay with your guy to honor his masculinity and be able to hook up when he wants to, and not demonize him for that. He's going to love you even more. He's going to appreciate you even more. Your value is going to raise in his eyes because you're now irreplaceable. He's like, fuck, I hit the jackpot. Not only is she awesome, but I can actually be a man and like get this out of my system and then come back to her feeling even more amazing. She's appreciative of me. She's more attracted to me because I have options, and that's going to inspire me as a guy to go out and get more resources to make myself even more valuable. How often have we heard in society, and especially, fucking Hollywood movies, this like phrase or variation of the phrase, oh, babe, you make me a better man. You make me want to be a better man. I'm nothing without you. You're my better half. Where does that come from? It comes from awesome women supporting men. And because they're appreciative, submissive, feminine, to whatever degree that fits that guy's and what he desires most. And because she's irreplaceable, she's so valuable, she gives him all of this confidence and feeling of being capable. And it just inspires him to go out and be more awesome, get more resources, and come back to that woman and then provide an even greater quality of life. So all I'm saying to wrap this specific topic is that it's who we are as men. And to support that, I think, is in your best interest, whether you're a guy or a girl. And as guys, if you're not able to do that, I think that's unhealthy for you. You should go out and get the value necessary to be able to negotiate that. Now, to wrap that and move on to our last topic, how do young guys and guys in general, this is for the men, how do they increase their value? And please also plug your programs and coaching. This is the time to do that. So Mike or Sam, whoever wants to jump in first.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I think I believe networking is an evolutionary adaptation. I think it's one of the reasons why we men love American football, European football. The reason why we like rugby so much, and the reason why we like basketball so much, is because we like watching groups of men accomplish goals as a team. So the concept of networking is what I teach in my course. It's the idea of like having large groups of successful people come together. And being able, and what you'll find is in those instances, you're going to find mentors. When you surround yourself with 5 people who make 10 times as much money as you, you're just going to make more money. It's always the way it works. And whenever I hear guys are like, hey, I want to get better with women, and they're like, which pickup course should I take? My answer is always find 3 dudes who are huge fucking whores and move into a 4-bedroom apartment with them in like the coolest spot in all of the city you live in. Live with those guys for a year. You will get better with women than any course that you take. That's the way to do it. So for me, I have a program. One program is called Vegas Immersion, which I'm actually about to leave here and go teach. That is men just being surrounded by a lot of other successful men and really attractive women to the point where they get immersed in it. I think finding mentors is really important. And I think the ability to network is very important. And then leadership, which is probably the most underutilized, untold part of male self-improvement, is the ability to lead other groups. And then finally, this is the one that always gets skipped over, is logistics. If you want to improve your life in a certain area, you're going to have to get up and move. If you want to become a venture capitalist, you're going to have to leave Des Moines, Iowa. And if you want to date super, super hot models, you're going to need to leave Cheyenne, Wyoming. You're going to have to move to a place where things are a little bit easier for you to find. And so logistics is highly underrated. But I teach MOAmentoring.com. Basically, we teach you networking, leadership, and how to show up to a party with 100 girls. We teach you basically local celebrity status. That's what we teach our guys to become. And it allows them to become better real estate agents, better accountants, better club promoters, whatever it is. We just teach networking as an evolutionary adaptation.
Incredible. I'm also going to link Michael's all his social media, so you can check that in the description below. Mike, thanks again for coming on for the second time. I really appreciate your time and energy, bro.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Sam, how can young guys and guys in general become high value, and where can people go to find you to work with you?
I think the biggest thing that they could do is called delayed gratification. I think in an instant gratification society, we're always consuming and we're always comforting ourselves. And very similar to what Mike said, is like, in order to become a high value man, you have to develop that skill. There are so many things in reality taking your attention: TikTok, Instagram, junk food. I was walking past a billboard yesterday, and it was literally for donuts. It said, "Don't break the bank, break your willpower." That was the thing. And I was like, society is wanting you to be fat, wanting you to be weak, wanting you to be low value. And I say there's 3 genders: there's females, low status men, and high status men. Because they're almost, as Mike said before, they're almost completely different. So what I teach is very, very similar to Mike, because I know that for me in my life, where I came from to where I began, it was a very low status place, very low down, didn't have options, didn't have anything, didn't have friends, found mentors, rose the ranks, and became a high value man. And from that, riches, rewards. And I teach a 7 pillar system. So there's 7 pillars to a high value man. We got looks, logistics is the first 2. Then you got social media, social proof. Social proof is social circle, pre-selection. Then you got naturalness, financial freedom. And so they're the other ones in social media. And so in those 7 pillars, what you can do is, if you level yourself up through the system that we teach, you can become a high value man. It's basically the step-by-step principle to becoming a high value man. It's like a number system. So most guys are very logical. They need a number system. They need actual step-by-step. So that's what we teach. So the program's called Social Life Mentoring. So we really have a big emphasis on your social life, very similar to networking, very similar to becoming a high value man. And I think the biggest one, naturalness, is the one I forgot. Sorry. Naturalness is the biggest pillar that we have there, is becoming a natural, very natural, charismatic dude. That comes through experience. You have to go through the experience, kind of like forging in fire. So I think, man, if they can delay gratification, do things that really test them, scare them, make them fearful. And we always say the Jack Sparrow compass. You remember Pirates of the Caribbean, where you had on the Black Pearl, the compass that pointed to what you want, which was usually rum. In this case, we talk about, what is it you want? You want to evolve. You want to become better. Most men want to become better. They want to conquer something. That compass, the Jack Sparrow compass for you, is fear. If you start to conquer things that are fearful in your life, that you're scared to do, that you are terrified to do, such as going up and talking to a beautiful woman, such as hosting a party, such as doing things that challenge your trauma and your beliefs and really think, I believe in this, but is this true? I don't know. Like a great example is stranger danger. You're a kid, you're 4, 5, 6, you got told stranger danger, but now you're a 23-year-old that has to do a sales call that still has that belief for stranger danger. If you learn how to delay the gratification of always being right, always being this, and start to challenge yourself and push yourself, that's how you go from the evolution of like a Pokemon between Charmander and Charizard. There's only one way, and it's kind of like the coal to the diamond analogy. Through pressure, if you put yourself in a pressure cooker, you will become a man of value. So that's through Social Life Mentoring. Hit me up on Instagram, Social Life Mentoring there, and we do that with a very, very good course that we have.
Incredible, and thank you for being here, Sam.
Nice.
And I've done multiple coaching sessions with Sam in the past, and he's given me a lot of tools and mindset shifts and helped me through some really tough situations. Because it's easy looking back with hindsight to go, oh yeah, that makes sense, or I shouldn't have done that. When you're going through something, I was dating a girl, for example, who was walking all over me, and I was stuck in that like disrespect and like confusion of like, what do I do? Like, I don't have these skills. I don't know how to think about this correctly. And just a conversation with Sam on a coaching call, like he really put things in perspective for me and allowed me to kind of take my power back, as one small example of some of the things that he'd be able to help you with. But I'm just one testimony. Like, he's an amazing, positive dude. Gives massively overvalue, as much value as he can. And he's a great mentor. So definitely hit him up. And for all the ladies here, Laura, Natalia, Sylvia, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being a part of the conversation. I know these are really, really hot topics, and I can't even wait to look at all the YouTube comments and people commenting about this. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you. And that's it.
Thank you
for having me.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Hope you enjoyed episode 1 of the Next Generation podcast. And if you did enjoy episode 1, make sure you head to the description and tap the link to join our Patreon and become a supporter of the podcast. This is going to help me make this more of a focus for you, so I can get better guests on the show and do this more consistently. So if you enjoyed the show, if you enjoyed my vibe as a host, if you enjoyed the conversations and the topics that we discussed here on this episode, then become a supporter. It really helps, and it's going to allow me to do more for you. So thank you so much for watching again, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode.